Hello and welcome to Radio Free Nintendo. It is November 7th, 2024. I am James Jones. I'm joined today by Greg Leahy.
Ahoy, hoy, everyone.
John Lindemann.
Great to be here, James.
Guillaume Veillette.
Good evening.
Good evening. And this is episode 900. I got it right this time. I thought we should do something a little bit special. So in the second segment, you guys sent us a bunch of email that I really appreciate. We're going to go through that. It's going to power the second segment of the show. And I apologize for getting distracted there. My phone went off literally as we were talking. But first, we wanted to come up with a topic, and Greg had pitched the DS's anniversary. But somebody else in the Discord, and I apologize, I don't remember who it was that told me this, noted that it is the 10th anniversary of Amiibo later this month. Specifically tied to the release date of Smash Brothers, which, depending on your region, is between the 21st, the 24th, or December 6th. 21st in North America, 24th in Europe, and December 6th in Japan. So, real close, right? And DS is basically similar timing. So, yeah, we decided we'll do a little bit of history on the Amiibo platform and our history with it, because I cannot believe this thing's been around for 10 fucking years, but it has. And so before we get into it, before we start diving into the history a little bit, I'm going to give a little history on the Wii U, which needs a little bit of history. So when the Wii U was announced, one of the things that we knew about it, because of the Project Cafe stuff that linked, was that it supported NFC, which is something Nintendo themselves confirmed in 2013, I believe. They didn't really give a lot of conversation on what they plan to do with it, just that it was on the feature list of things on the Wii U. And we basically didn't really know what was going to happen with it. One of the first outlets, or one of the first companies to kind of show something with it, was in the trailer for what's that Rayman game on Wii U called now? I'm blanking on what its name was. The one that got delayed.
Either Origins or Legend.
Yes, Legends. I think is the second one, right?
Yeah.
Origins is the Wii game. Rayman Legends, where in the trailer they showed some NFC related features. Ubisoft later had to come out and put out a statement, because that trailer wasn't really meant for general public. It was more of an ideas trailer. And I'm going to quote this from Seren, who reminded me about this. Quote, "An internal video showing images of Rayman Origins sequel has leaked over the internet. This video was intended purely as an internal demonstrative video and in no way represents the final game, the final console, or the features. This video was designed for internal production teams who often create game prototypes with work-in-process development kits. Ubisoft confirms the development of Rayman Legends is handled by Michel Ancel and his team in Montpellier. Montpellier, I don't know. Is it
Montpellier, my friend.
Yeah,
Montpellier.
John's got it. Yeah.
Okay. This came out in 2012, before Nintendo had announced anything about what they planned to do with it.
No, well, that's the point. I mean, don't forget, the Wii U is out by the end of 2012. And yet, you know, here we are talking about the 10th anniversary of Amiibo in 24. So it's like, that's right. The point. They had this feature on there. You've got that little logo on the kind of gamepad, you know, for the NFC read the point. You know, where to actually place ultimately, where you'd put an Amiibo on your gamepad for it to read and stuff. But yeah, they didn't have anything the first couple of years that actually took advantage of it. And by the time they did, I think, you know, everybody was kind of like, well, the writing's already on the wall for this thing. Like, maybe almost looked at as Amiibo as just something that they could make money off, that didn't even really, you know, need you to own a Wii U. It's just like people that like Nintendo figures, like, regardless of what it actually did, with games or, interacted with that system, or eventually, it would interact with 3DSs because you had an add-on for the older models. And then, of course, 2015, you had the new models that would have NFC in them. But yeah, like that's a weird part of it, is like they put this feature in and just had no flagship kind of utilization of it for a whole couple of years.
So actually, this will get to one of the questions, and Greg, I suspect you'll know the answer. So I'm going to give this one. I'm going to be keeping score throughout the whole thing. This is a segment that I call amiibo or amii-NO. These are essentially yes or no questions. Is there an amiibo that meets the question that I am putting out to you or not? Basically, you're just going to tell me if this is a real amiibo or not. So I'm going to give this one to John. John.
Yes.
Is there a game that supports amiibo that was released in the year 2013?
Yes.
Knowing that Greg just told you the platform came out, was first shown in 2014.
Yes.
You're going to go, I'm sorry. The answer is no.
All right.
But there was a game released in 2012. Does anyone know what that game was?
Come on. The answer is even the answer that you said yes to. No, it's actually even dumber than that.
Yeah, no.
But that's the thing. I mean, we're talking about the launch titles, basically, right? I mean, if we're talking 2012,
well,
it was right at the end of the year.
Didn't say it was a Wii U game.
Yeah, well, I suppose there is that. But if it was a 3DS game that got patched later,
the answer is Animal Crossing New Leaf. Remember they had that whole welcome amiibo patch.
Update.
With the absolutely fucking deranged direct that came with it.
Oh yeah, the like the camp thing, right?
Yeah. Ugh. That one's a curse. So this actually gets us to the next showing of amiibo, possibly amiibo. 2013, they talked about amiibo. 2014, Smash Brothers came out. There is a game, Pokemon Rumble U, that features NFC figurines that you tap onto the Wii U gamepad to bring into game. Are those amiibo?
And not by brand, I don't think.
So you are correct, but also not by technology, weirdly. They don't follow the amiibo standard. The interesting thing that Saran also told me about these Pokemon Rumble figurines, which they're ugly as shit. They're made to look like the highly polygonal characters in that game.
Well, yeah, highly low poly.
Yes.
That makes any sense.
Every Pokemon is Porygon, basically.
Yes, he's been robbed of his identity. I find this upsetting.
I don't think there is one of him, which is very funny. They came in blind bags. They were made out of like sewer pipe plastic because they were like $3 a piece. And they are rotting or dissolving, as it were, in people's collections because the plastic they were made out of was so low quality. It's excellent. So this was the first NFC product that made it to market for Wii U. But I guess they just didn't talk to Nintendo, so it doesn't follow the amiibo standards or branding. Because Nintendo, a Pokemon company, does whatever the fuck it wants. I actually think I have one about the Ubisoft stuff, or I may have cut that question. There's a bunch of questions I had a lot of questions at one point. I did cut that question. Okay, cool. So yeah, the first set of amiibo that comes out is the Smash Brothers amiibo in 2014. They are numbered in a way not dissimilar from how Nintendo numbers them in Smash Ultimate. Numbers the characters in Smash Ultimate.
Well, I guess the thing with 3DS and Wii U, they still had the trophy room, right? So, yes. I'm assuming that the numbering would just match like where they were in the sequence of that, probably.
Yes. So the first set of amiibo that come out, the question is how many were in it, or specifically, Well, I guess I can just tell you because I don't have that one down as a hard question.
I think isn't it like 7?
You're pretty close. I think it's up to Marth. I want to say Kirby is the last one that came out on the 21st.
Okay.
Or Marth might have come out too. There's a lot. It was a big chunk that dropped. Yes. It's 12. That is Mario, Peach, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, Link, Fox, Samus, Wii Fit Trainer, Villager, Pikachu, Kirby. Zelda comes out in December. So they actually had a bunch early on.
Yeah, I think there was kind of a second wave that followed pretty quickly after, right? Like there was the very first one, but it's almost like kind of 1A, 1B, because I guess they felt like, I mean, not that Smash for Wii U 3DS had as many characters as Ultimate does. You know, we hadn't got to the whole, you know, everyone is back or here thing yet, but it's got a shitload of characters. So even with the quite large number that you ended up with after the first couple of waves before the end of the year, it was still a minor fraction of the overall cast. And I guess, you know, you kind of had to get on with it, really, didn't you? If you were going to, like, not leave people. If, God forbid, actually people did care about having, you know, a figure of their fighter and they wanted to do stuff with it, you know, with the whole, like, saving your data to it for a kind of buddy character or whatever else.
Oh,
like,
yeah. You had to get
God forbid you that was actually something people cared about, then, yeah, you couldn't take too long.
Yeah, so they actually got through 18 in the first year. And then there was another set that came out in January. What's interesting is in Japan, because the game was delayed to the 6th of December, all 18 came out on one day in Japan, which I'm sure was definitely not a retail nightmare. In the end, there are 96 Smash Brothers amiibo, as defined by having the Smash Brothers symbol stand. The last one of which, does anybody remember what it was? This isn't a trivia question. I'm just curious who remembers. It came out this year.
Sora.
It is, with his big fucking clown shoes. Sora is the only amiibo in that set that came out this year, because the Pirate Mythra was all the way back in June of last year.
For a while, you kind of wondered, like, are they actually going to be able to deliver on that? Because it was kind of...
they did promise it.
It was somewhat promised, but at the same time, it wasn't kind of... It didn't have the same kind of solid, like, yes, and the amiibo will follow at roughly this time, the way that the other ones that were in the Sakuros broadcast did.
Yes. We hadn't actually seen it. So the first time Nintendo actually showed amiibo was during one of their investor briefings in 2014, May. They showed a prototype of the platform for 3DS and a couple figurines that talked about how it could be used across games. The Nintendo figurine platform, which was the code name NFP. It was officially they said that they'd officially unveil it during E3. That was during the Smash Brothers for Wii U presentation where they actually dropped it on. So this was the one where Reggie and Iwata did that weird fight choreography.
That's
I
right.
believe.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they pull out their amiibo and put them down, and they fight. There was an event later in the year where Miyamoto noted that they were moving towards projects that make use of NFC in a variety of unique ways. Nintendo is known as a video game company, but is in fact also a toy company. So we ended up with the release for Smash Brothers Amiibo. That rolls into, I want to say that they keep rolling through February of 2015. And then we get to the next set, which is the Super Mario set. That came out in March of 2015 with Mario, Luigi, Peach, Yoshi, Bowser, and Toad. That was also around the same time that Iwata announced they were going to do card-based amiibo. So there's a bunch of amiibo. The majority of amiibo, actually, are in trading card format. And they're just NFC readers on a card. They have a distinction, though. So the NFC technology in Amiibo is interesting. So I read into this. So most of what it does is you can tap it, and it's just a number. And that's used to unlock things. Games have a version of the database of all the amiibo or the amiibo they care about that existed at the time of their thing. You can patch it to update it, obviously.
Right, which is exactly why I bought bootleg Monster Hunter amiibo off of eBay.
Jesus Christ.
You can get the little, yeah. Well, I didn't want to buy, I don't think I could buy the original amiibo anymore.
Oh, I know. It's just very funny.
It's been, because it's like Monster Hunter Stories, right? That has a number. But I'm trying to think, is there any that aren't to do with... Oh, there are, aren't there? There definitely are, yeah.
There are,
I can picture the Sunbreak like ones.
Rise,
right?
Rise and Sunbreak have amiibo.
It was all those ones, yeah.
Both the Stories games have amiibo. Rise and Sunbreak also have amiibo. I've read about a lot of amiibo preparing for this segment. Holy shit, I've read about a lot of amiibo. The card amiibo though have that as well. They have the little ID number. So if you tap it onto the amiibo reader, it tells the software its ID, its code. This is what amiibo I am. And if the software is coded to support that amiibo, it does whatever it does. But a handful of games, not a ton, also write to a dedicated storage on the amiibo. This is a second function. I do not believe the cards have the ability to do this. At least I haven't been able to find evidence of any card that does it. Let's put it that way. And so what they can write is a very limited amount of data. So it can only be one game's worth of data. And the example Nintendo gave is if you have a Smash Brothers amiibo of Mario and you have a Mario fighter on it, and then you dock it with Mario Party 10, which also writes to the amiibo, it would overwrite your Smash data with Mario Party 10 data, which I don't know why you would ever want to do that. But yes, that's sort of the limitation. I do not believe cards have that storage space. Not 100% sure on that. I'm gonna ask, this isn't a trivia question, but I'll give points for it anyway. There are an absolutely shitload of amiibo. There's more amiibo than you think there are. I will just tell you that right now. There are absolutely more amiibo than you think there are. Figurines and cards. Without getting into the figurines, how many there are. Does anybody want to guess, and you can just round numbers, how many card amiibo were released?
I'm going to go with 800.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've been trying to think the different types. There was the Mario Sports.
There's a lot.
Superstars or whatever it is, that late 3DS game that had a bunch of like Mario cards. You've got the Animal Crossing ones, right? Where
the New Leaf, New Leaf Welcome Amiibo.
They had a bunch of cards. They would have the.
They had 6 series of cards beyond that, and the Sanrio.
That's
cards.
what I was going to say. Yeah, like the Sanrio crossover stuff. So, how much does that all add up to? And the stuff
I'm going to say 800,000 amiibos.
I will promise you're going in the wrong direction now.
Oh.
I'll say 300. 300.
Okay. Well, I'll just 500. Let's go with that.
All right. So Greg is the closest. 614 card amiibo were released.
Wow.
Which is nuts. Most of them are Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
There are so many fucking Animal Crossing cards. This is where I can weave in some personal experience. So I don't know any Animal Crossing figurine amiibo, although I did buy a whole shitload of them when Toys to Life was going on sale.
Oh, yeah. The Animal Crossing amiibo are like really famous for being the ones that just were in large, easily available.
So I bought a bunch for I'll just say a friend of the show, and was told, because this was when Toys R Us still existed, and they were doing buy 2 get 1 free, and then they were doing buy 1 get 2 free, because everything must go in Toys to Life. And I was on a work trip, and I said, well, I'll check out the Toys R Us here up in Boston, the Boston area. I was like, well, I could check out the ones here and see what they've got. Oh no, was that the Seattle trip? I can't remember. And I went up to the Toys R Us over there and started looking, and they only had 2 that I hadn't procured for them already. And so I bought 2 and brought them to the register, and I was told, no, go get a third one. These have to go. So they got a duplicate, because I was told I had to get all 3 to get the deal. It was buy 1, get 2 free, and they would not let me only take 1. I had to take 2. I think in the end I collected something like 9 plastic amiibo for Animal Crossing. Just a crazy number because they were just overproduced. They were wildly overproduced because they were supported in very few games. Welcome Amiibo supported them, but that was an add-on. Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer supported them, but that was a joke. And the what was it called? Animal Crossing,
the game, the board game Festival thing, yeah, the Amiibo Festival, in the title,
which came with two. It came with Digby and Isabelle, and it supported the other ones because you required Amiibo to play it. Needless to say, that game did not sell well. It is a Mario Party game without the mini games. And also, as Don Koopman video famously showed, on the last day, you can get a card that basically just says you lose the game. So that's cool.
And I love that. I mean, how late on Wii U was that again? I mean,
well after the point of death.
It was so dead at that point. I mean, look, that's a lot of the reason why that game is what it is. It's just like, well, we should still release something that's got the Animal Crossing brand on this system. And yet it is also clear that it would be a complete waste of resources, to actually put, something of merit with the Animal Crossing brand on there. So we're just going to put this out and tie it into the figures that we think they probably thought could sell just off the bat. The people like Animal Crossing in general, they're cute characters, cute figures and stuff. But yeah, just very ill-fated.
It is, I think I want to say there's 12 released Animal Crossing figurines in that set. Oh no, it's way more. 16, 2 of which are Isabelle. One is Isabelle's summer outfit, which at one point was which was a question, but I've pulled it.
So any of these questions going to be about Malibu Stacy's new hat?
Yes, all of them are actually. But yeah, that series, was everything must go clearance. And I neglected to talk about it. So Toys to Bob is our patient zero of the Toys to Life stuff. And this is Skylanders. In fact, Activision and Toys to Bob had approached Nintendo about an exclusive Toys to Life product line that Nintendo rejected. I want to say back in 2012. Let me go back to my notes on this.
Well, again, it could make sense, wouldn't it? Like, we knew they were going to have this console that would have this functionality with it. It's not surprising that people would be exploring possibilities for that. But it was more surprising that you didn't have more materialize until 2014.
It was, in fact, Skylanders. Yeah, so the Toys to Bob and Activision approached Nintendo about making Skylanders exclusive to Wii, which Nintendo passed on, obviously, because it came out in other stuff. But it ended up doing really well, as if people who lived through that will remember. But Activision kind of really pressed their luck because they kept trying to add new features to the platform, which meant you had to buy new platforms. To give another story, we were at an Activision pre-E3 hotel event, and they had a platform. I can't remember which game this was for, but this one had. I want to say there was one called Trap Force or some shit, where there were traps and it could support multiple Skylander figurines at one time, which meant you had to buy another platform for this game, even though the last game had also had a new platform. And I just asked the PR rep, why does this require another platform, or can I just tap the things out of sequence? And I got the dirtiest look to the point where I no longer felt comfortable eating the free food.
Were you reminded of the Spinal Tap "These Amps Go to 11" scene at any point? It does sound pretty similar.
All right. So let me make sure I'm getting the right one. This was Trap Team. Yeah, I had it right. So Swap Force had a newsstand, and I believe Trap Team also had a newsstand. These games came out a year apart, so fuck you if you've bought one. Here's gonna buy another stand.
But that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, I didn't, I've never had any of the Toys to Life stuff apart from Amiibo, and a lot of the time, it's kind of incidental, isn't it? How much it ended up getting used in the games, as you say, with Smash Brothers at first, it at least did use the ability to write data for something, but it was never that important, and then that just was probably the apex of it, right? Most of the time it was just unlocks for cosmetics after that. But even by 2014, I think there was a feeling that it's this is something that's already peaked. they're getting in on this Toys to Life thing on the way down. Like they're not, they're already a bit late to the party here.
And we were already dealing with Disney having entered it with back to my notes. I don't know why I can't remember the name of
was it Disney Infinity?
Infinity.
Yes.
So
God, I wish I could actually purge that from my brain.
Disney Interactive Studios released Disney Infinity in 2013, which was pretty hot on the heels of Skylanders.
Just as a side note, why does anybody use the word infinite, the words infinite or infinity to name anything? Like Halo Infinite, not infinite. Not even close.
Yeah, because Skylanders was 2011, Disney Infinity was 2013, the Pokemon Rumble U was 2013, and Amiibo was 2014. So yeah, it was kind of already on the way down, but not all the way down, because I think we got through 3 rounds. It was Infinity 3.0 is the one that went like, oh shit, this ship is sinking. Activision did their standard, like, we're going to drive this thing into the ground and keep selling you new accessories, which everyone should have seen coming because Guitar Hero.
That's true. Yeah, you kind of already, it's different, obviously, in terms of like the target demographics and stuff, but there was, some parallels with a cycle that you'd already gone through like quite recently in that regard.
So, does anybody know what the name comes from Amiibo? Just out of curiosity.
It's definitely something with your friend, right? Like friend, buddy, amigo, and then But how it got to Bo as the the ending, the modification to amigo, I can't remember.
Bill Trennan also does not know.
Well,
quote,
I feel less bad for not knowing now if Bill doesn't.
Yeah.
Quote, they came up with the name in Japan. And that was the ami portion comes from a little something in French that conveys the sentiment of a little something in French being French, Bill.
Right, yeah.
Of playing with your friend. That's what they're really trying to convey with it. I think it's for us, it sounds a little like amigo, but that's not the origin of the name, but it conveys the intent. Bill.
There's a whole lot of cross referencing there.
A bit of pretzeling, I think, is right.
Yeah.
But I know it sounds more like the Spanish word for friend, but it's not from that. It's from French. Don't call it from Spanish.
Yeah. And
Bill, why?
Bon ami, like that, I'd say I do not take French from the word amiibo at all.
No. It's not. It's so clearly from Amigo, and somebody just told Bill this.
Yeah.
But he's going to stick to it because that's the line he has to give. It's very good. It's very good. I don't know. Nintendo's good. Nintendo is the answer to that. So that kind of gets us to the early history of the Amiibo stuff. So we're at Smash. We're at Mario. They've come out. We have the Animal Crossing Amiibo figures and the Animal Crossing
The
cards.
other thing I would say, I guess you got to say, with that, especially those first couple of waves, really, I think most prominent examples were the first wave. It's just there was disappointment expressed in how the actual figures didn't quite match, what was shown in that E3 video or like, the other assets that were shown where it's like, the actual production figures did not have the same kind of precision as the sort of marketing stuff in advance. So we ended up with, sort of like Marth was, I think, pretty widely highlighted as being a bit wonky looking. Villager as well. Then there was what happened with the stands as well. Yeah, that they ended up like the supports, like they went with different colours for them, and which gave us the Link standing on the big golden plinth. And the others like were
looks so bad.
Others were less obvious, like less obtrusive.
Link's the worst.
But yeah, and again, that was like an early figure, right, Link? So.
Yeah, it's first
they
wave.
did
so
get better over time. Like as time went on, it was more like, okay, if they show you like a publicity shot of this figure, and then you go and see it in, see people's actual photos of it, like it might not be exactly the same, but it's ballpark, it's close. Like whereas early on, not so much.
I will say, Alm and Celica are stunning. Like they are. the amount of detail they cram into that
the later
ones,
I mean, like, are just like, not just like, obviously are they kind of more accurate to like whatever they're supposed to be, but just the things that they like even attempted to do just feels like it would have been beyond, you know, what they had in mind originally. You know what I mean? Like, you think of stuff like Min from Smash Brothers Ultimate, like all the crazy details in that with like the dragon arm thing and the scales and all that. Like, it's just it's
legitimately beautiful,
way beyond what they were able to do. And that's the thing. If you run this product line for 10 years, it gives you, which, you know, I don't think really any of us would have expected that it would keep going, you know, the way that it did for whatever, you know, the various reasons that it did. But like they got, you know, more ambitious with the kinds of things they could do and just higher quality. I mean, I guess the weirdest part though, to go back to something, and I feel like this is something that, you know, was pretty well confirmed, but I could be wrong because this is all a long time ago. But the idea that obviously, you know, the connection between Smash Brothers has always been, you know, for the very first game on N64, you know, the intro with the sort of like toys coming to life and fighting each other. It's like, yeah, these are kind of toys of the famous Nintendo characters fighting each other, not like the actual characters. And so, like, it was always natural, therefore, that it's like, yeah, toys to life. You know, Smash Brothers, perfect fit, right? But all those ones that were for Wii U and 3DS, like, apparently the trophies, most of the time, that they wanted them to match for that synergy that I just described, they wanted the amiibo to match the actual in-game trophies that you would have. They weren't designed with the thought that they would end up being figures. Like, that's why some of those poses don't really work, why they have weird stands and why you ended up with, like, the Leaning Tower of Samus, or whatever. Like, you just, like...
And Samus is actually pretty good, but yeah, it's weird.
And why didn't they think of this? I don't get it.
The only thing I could think of is late ad.
Yes, but again, because considering the functionality was like not something that was added, it was for the 3DS. We had to have the hockey puck thing. It came along later, but like with the Wii U, that shit is in there from the jump. That is native.
Oh yeah,
and you would think like, okay, we're doing another Smash Brothers. What can we do that's specific to the new hardware? That would be like a really early conversation, and therefore the trophies.
Let's make sure this shit matches.
The trophies would basically be your designs for the figures, and yet, by all accounts I've ever heard, and just, you know, using your bloody eyes on those early ones, that did not happen.
My favorite of the early ones for this is not the Link with the piss stand. Link's the only one that's gold. Everyone else, like, we should make this clear so it doesn't stand out, or like blue, so it's like they're jumping off a cloud.
I think there's some others that are...
Pit's blue.
Yeah, more of a sky blue. I think Fox is kind of dark for whatever reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, so Luigi's doing his missile move.
Yeah.
Because that's what
again, like that, ideally, you would not pick that as you know what I mean?
No, so...
That is just like dumb Smash Brothers comedy, like trophy comedy, and then it's, oh shit, we've actually got to fabricate the fucking thing.
So the best part about it is, because he's at a 45-degree angle and his feet are on the stand, they had to come up with the support around the middle of his body. So he has this clear plastic... I mean, you can't say it. Tripod coming out of his dick. It's truly a design decision. Like, they could have made it come out from like his chest there. Nope. They wanted to get it as close to his feet as possible. So that means it's coming out from his crotch. It's truly a design. Now, they got a lot better. Like, Captain Falcon has his stupid clear support coming out in front of his leg because he's kicking.
Yeah, he's doing that. He's doing that sort of big high kick. I think that he does... When they had like the intro where he gets out of the car, he kind of does that kick or something. I think it's that.
Yeah, which, like, even though Falcon punches his
notorious
thing.
Really, if we want to talk about quote unquote iconic Captain Falcon Smash Brothers, he should be doing the Falcon punch. But
at which point you wouldn't have to worry about the shit. My favorite of we have to make this work is because the stands were always the same for the most part. Bayonetta 2. So Bayonetta, there's actually 2 distinct Bayonettas.
Yeah, this is where they did the, like, actual, Corrin was another one, right? Where it's like, okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those.
But obviously, when you're in Smash Brothers, every character's at least going to have different colours for, like, the different ones. When you can usually there's sort of like maybe 6 or 8 different ones you can have or something. But with some characters, as it went on, they would have alternate costumes. Like, obviously, later DLC characters, like for Ultimate, would have quite a few. Mm-hmm. Like the Dragon Quest hero has distinct, ones from different chapters across the series, and Sora's got some different ones. But they didn't get like distinct amiibo; they just picked one. But for Corrin and Bayonetta, we got 2 for both of them. I'm trying to remember if there's anybody else.
I think there is. Cloud. Cloud has 2.
He does, but did they come out at the same time? I thought they came later, but I could be wrong.
I think they did. I think they both came out 2017. I can confirm that. I mean, yeah, they both came out at the same time. Black and one's the Advent Children and one's the Final Fantasy.
But that's another thing, though, isn't it? It's like Bayonetta was DLC. How couldn't they get the trophy design right at this point? Like, for it to be an amiibo?
Well, so this is the funny part. So her default is Bayonetta 2.
Yeah, that was the game that came out more recently and the game that Nintendo paid to make. So makes sense that was the default.
So there's little plastic supports at her feet because she's got dumb high heel shoes on. But Bayonetta 1, they did the one where she's got her legs really, really spread and she's got her arms down in front and behind her crotch with her guns. We'll call it extremely suggestive. But because she's got her legs spread, they're too wide for the stand. So there's little clear supports that are holding her with her legs, technically speaking, not touching the stand at all. So her feet are actually beyond the stand, and the clear supports are what's holding her in place. She's not attached physically to the stand in the slightest. It's amazing. Now, they started hiding the supports in, like, stage effects. So Ridley, for example, his tail is supported and his back foot are supported by what appears to be like a cloud of smoke from him stomping his leading foot. They did something very similar with Joker, where his cape is supported by the blue flame that Joker would have when he put the mask on.
Yeah, definitely showing some signs of progress when you get to the Ultimate ones in particular. Like, why they couldn't have maybe done a little bit better with some of the DLC stuff for 3DS Wii U, I don't know. But yeah, definitely the Ultimate ones, it kind of feels like this more joined up, thought through, and you just get a better product.
But not the 2 I bought from that set. Pyra and Mithra, they both sit on clear plastic stands. Because Sakurai spent a bunch of time studying their feet and he did not want them touching the ground.
Am I right in saying that their poses in that are like, aren't there like bigger figures that are the ones that he was looking at for reference? Yes. Like, he's virtually the same pose, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that's the thing there. It was like, it wasn't really that bespoke for their Smash Brothers appearance. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, that's basically, I like that. I'll just have that recreated as the amiibo, I guess.
Pretty much. We were talking about this earlier. So with the Legend of Zelda series, we determined that Link is the most amiibo figured character because he has Wolf Link, the 8-bit Link, Ocarina of Time, Toon Link, all the Smash Brothers Links, which I believe comes out to 3, 2 distinct Breath of the Wild Links, a Majora's Mask Link, a Twilight Princess Link, a Skyward Sword Link, Tears of the Kingdom Link. What did we say? Link's Awakening Link. What did we say? He had 11 figurines?
Oh yeah, of course, Link's Awakening, the remake one.
Yeah, the little toy. Yeah, so there's like 11 distinct Link figurines, which puts him by far in the lead.
He's overexposed. Come on.
Mario is only 9.
I kind of feel sorry for the Links that aren't, like, sort of memorialized in this way, if you like. Like, I kind of feel like you would actually, an authentic Link to the Past with the pink hair would be really nice to have, because like he would look a little more different than a lot of these ones do for by virtue of having the pink hair.
So Mario has a bunch because he has 2 of the 8 bits. Because there's 2 different color variants, one for how it looked in the NES and how it's been depicted since then. Also, he has a both gold and silver Mario and the regular Mario in the Mario series that are all in the same pose. Why? Who can say? But that gets us to a question. There are a number of color variant amiibo. Like I said, in the Mario series is filthy with them. So the question is, Guillaume, is the pink gold Peach amiibo real?
Real? Like
is that a real
don't
amiibo?
Look at her, she becomes a woman.
No, is that a real amiibo, or did I make it up?
Okay. So we're not in a mannequin situation.
No.
Okay.
No.
I recognize that reference.
Yes.
Yes.
Why wouldn't there be, though? Because there's...
But that's the question. Did I make it up?
Have you seen the price of gold lately? Goodness me.
Right.
Pink gold at that.
Yeah, maybe there's something... Yeah, well, I guess like you wouldn't ask if there was one, so I'm gonna say no.
Well, half of these are real. I'm going to just to be clear. This is a trivia. They're not all fake. You're gonna go with no.
She doesn't exist.
You're right. She doesn't somehow.
Yeah, it's almost more of a shot that it does. I don't know whether I'm treading on any other questions about variants here, but like I can think of some variants that are like surprising that they do exist.
There's a few.
In principle, are like less probable than, let's do Metal Peach, essentially Metal Peach. Considering that exists in Mario Kart for some reason.
Yes. Let's do a different variant then. So we have male and female for Minecraft. We have
Steve. Was it Steve and what's the other one? I forgot now.
Remember. Yeah, I have the list in front of me, and I can't be fucking bothered. Steve and shit, I literally do have the list in front of me. Alex, that's it. And we've talked about how there's plenty of Corrin and Corrin, for example. It's male and female Corrin. Did we get male and female Wii Fit trainer, Greg?
Pretty sure we didn't, even though that would have been something that would have made sense, but I don't think we got that was a little early and they didn't circle back around to it.
Correct. We only got the female Wii Fit trainer.
Let's face it, she's the face.
Oh,
of the,
yeah. It makes
Nobody
plenty.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty
Nobody
of
wants
sense.
to see the male trainer.
It makes
you don't
plenty
know
of
that,
sense
John.
that
Come on.
they led with the female, because like that when they had the trailer for that being a new character in Smash, I'm pretty sure the female trainer was the one that was kind of featured and everything. But yeah, you kind of feel like if they hadn't put it in the first wave and it had been in a later wave, maybe they would have done both. But it wasn't. It wasn't a priority at that stage. Where they were just trying to do as many unique characters as they could in a short period of time.
Correct. Speaking of gold and not gold, I will tell you there are a lot of Mega Man amiibo, much more than you would expect. I will tell you explicitly, there is a gold Mega Man amiibo.
Right.
It is golden colored.
Mm-hmm.
Is it part of the Smash Brothers series? Keeping in mind, there are non-Smash Brothers series Mega Man amiibo. Is he part of the Smash Brothers series?
Is this open to everyone?
Go for it.
Yeah, no, it was with the Mega Man collection, Legacy collection on the 3DS or DS? 3DS. 3DS, that makes sense.
You are correct about what game it was with, yes. You're saying no.
I'm saying no.
Okay. The answer is yes, weirdly. Oh. It is a Smash Brothers series amiibo that was bundled with the Legacy collection.
It's that amiibo, but painted gold. Yeah, that is it.
And it has the Smash Brothers stand.
Yeah, no, because it's the same thing. It is the same thing with a different paint job, but because there was a later Mega Man amiibo that is not Smash Brothers. That is
correct.
Just for I did believe it was the Mega Man anniversary, so it was like had a special anniversary stand or something that came out around Mega Man 11. But that was later than the 3DS collection.
Correct. It is. There's a lot of Mega Man stuff in the amiibo space. In fact, just to get another question in here that's related. Capcom, this is not an amiibo or amii-NO. It's just to pick the real game. Capcom released a lot of games on Switch. A lot of them. One of these games actually supports amiibo. Here's your list to choose from. I will say Capcom came hard in the amiibo support, but only one of these does. The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, Mega Man X Legacy Collection, or Resident Evil Revelations 2. Specifically 2.
I think it's a Legacy Collection.
Okay. Greg?
Oh, that's tough. I know there's some wacky stuff in Resident Evil Revelations 2, like there's some like little Ghosts and Goblins mini game for one of the characters or something, but I can't remember if there's anything.
They spelled everything right in that game, which is extra impressive.
Betrayal of the spirit of the sub franchise. But what was the other one again? There was Revelations, the Chronicles,
Mega Man Legacy X Collection. So not Legacy Collection, Legacy X Collection. Resident Evil Revelations 2. And the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles.
God, I mean, I own
tell you,
2 of those.
The one in question does not support it much.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna go with the X Collection just because I know the previous one did because it had that bundle. But I'm no idea.
I would say the same. Yeah.
All right. Well, the answer is Revelations 2 and 1 both gave you points for their weird mini games to buy shit in. The No Ace Attorney game supports it. Mega Man 11, Legacy Collection 1, and Legacy 2 all support it. But no future collections. X, X2, Advance, Advance 2, and ZX. None of them support anything amiibo. So that was their cutoff point. We talked about how many games do support some amiibo, and it's not very many. A lot of amiibo are only supported in 1 or 2 games. Mythra is one such example. Same with Pyra. Same, because they're the same. In fact, there are only 2 games that support Mythra and Pyra. What are they?
Well, we count in Smash Ultimate.
So I'm counting Smash.
So
yes.
that's one. So there's one other one, isn't there?
Yep. I could not find any Smash amiibo that only are supported by Smash, although I suspect there are some.
Yeah, you
I didn't want to go through all 96 of them to find out.
Yeah, although, like, I guess, obviously you always had, like, a bunch of stuff in it. Like, you think of, like, the original Super Mario Maker, like everything. Yeah. Everything that got released while that game was being supported, every amiibo that got released while that game was being supported, like, had an 8-bit costume for when you were playing the Super Mario Brothers style.
And there are some games that it seems like they just, if they get an amiibo they don't know, they're just like, I don't know, here's some shit. I'm not counting those. Like, I'm explicitly supporting.
There's, so I mean, there's amiibo support in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and 3, isn't there?
Yes.
So it's one of them.
It has to be, 2, I would say.
2 would make more sense. Yeah, but then 3 is newer. Closer to when, that DLC for Smash was actually made. I guess I'll go. I'll go with 3.
All right, John's 2, you're 3. Guillaume,
I'm going with Future Connected, even though it's not in the running. Just a nice spread.
Just a protest.
Yeah.
It is 3. They are not supported in 2. They were not patched in. It's very weird. Game. They didn't do it.
That is very strange. Yeah.
They're not really supported that much, but they are supported. All right, I'm going to give a couple more real or fakes, and then we'll get back to some amiibo personal experience. This is an easier one, I believe. The Super Mario cereal. I'm going to keep in mind, there have been multiple Mario cereals. I'm giving you a specific one. It is called the Super Mario cereal.
The box. Oh, God.
The box, yes. This one's a little bit evil, but don't overthink this one. because I will tell you, this one's dumb, but not in the way I intended it to be.
That's a good warning, because I've really been, these other questions, I've really put my brain through the paces, you know?
Oh, yeah, I know. It's fair, yeah.
A lot of research, a lot of sleepless nights.
To be fair, there was a lot of research. Wasted, but yes. All right, just spit out an answer.
I think Discord may have swallowed the question on my end. Yeah.
Is the name? There is a cereal box that supports a Mario cereal box that supports amiibo. Yeah. The question is, was it the Kellogg Super Mario cereal, or was it some of the other cereals that have existed?
Oh God, yeah, no idea. That's the problem with that. Yeah.
Kellogg Mario cereal, or I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
It's 50-50, just guess.
I guess I'm going to go that it is Kellogg's.
Yeah, all right. You're all right. You all got a point. Congratulations. It is the Kellogg's one. It's not the 3 other Mario cereals that I can find, but it's a little bit stupid because they had announced the Kellogg cereal before the Amiibo cereal box promotion because that was tied to Mario Odyssey. So there's a version of the box that does not support Amiibo that seems to have existed either before or after the promotion ended. I can't figure that part out. It's very weird. All I could find are people trying to sell me Amiibo boxes that may or may not still have expired cereal in them, which was not helpful to the answer I was trying to get at. There are how am I going to word this one? Okay. The Skylanders Superchargers Hammer Slam Bowser. Is that an Amiibo?
Yes. Absolutely, yes.
I think so, too. They had that Donkey Kong. I don't remember Bowser, but yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yes, it is. There are 2 Bowser and 2 Donkey Kong. They're just color variants. But yes, they are both Skylanders and Amiibo, which means they must have an additional broadcasting NFC component to them beyond the standard 2, which is dumb but funny. Continuing that line of thought, the Skylanders Starlink kit, are they Amiibo? Because remember, Skylanders was Ubisoft's Toy to Life thing that came out well after Toys to Life was dead.
So this Starlink is the thing that had the Star Fox crossover?
Yes.
Right? Yeah,
I would say no.
Is that we're talking about? Yeah, I'm going to say.
Yeah, so the R-Wing,
no.
The R-Wing is NFC because you'd put it on the controller and it would read that. So you're all saying no, it does not support it.
But then there's all that other stuff, isn't it? Like, I mean, the Switch version had a hardware bundle with the R-Wing, right?
Did.
But there was all the other stuff that presumably was the same across like all the different ones. So
because it came with like a little portal. I seem to remember the trailer.
Yeah.
I've got it right here, but I've never opened it, so I don't know. You could play it without it too. So yeah, the answer is in fact no. They are not Amiibo. They and the Pokemon Rumble U, even though they could be Amiibo, have chosen bravely to not be Amiibo. Is this an Amiibo or an amii-NO? The bands that you get for accessing rides at Super Mario Land. They are NFC.
Oh, sure.
Are they Amiibo?
Oh.
You mean, what, you talking like Universal Studios?
Yeah, like the wristbands that you can buy that are Mario themed.
I would say that they are not Amiibo.
Okay. Anybody else want to take a stab at it?
They are Amiibo.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, it could unlock like stuff in Mario Kart, like or there's like a driver suit for that particular character, couldn't it? So let's say yes.
Could. They are in fact Amiibo. They are branded as Amiibo, and they work as the Amiibo reader.
Wow.
I believe they are read-only Amiibo.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's so unnecessary.
I have a couple of them, and I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, I think they will read as the character that they represent.
Oh man, it's wild.
Yeah, it is kind of nuts. Let's see which ones I've got here. I'll save the rest of these. So let's talk about amiibo that we own. I've got. Hold on, pivoting. 5. I have the Neo and oh my god, I'm blanking on his name.
Noah and Mio.
Noah and Neo Xenoblade 3 set. I have Pyra Mythra from Smash Brothers, and I have the Mega Man before they decided to make a bunch of Mega Man ones. Because I thought it was just cool that somebody made a Mega Man toy in 2014.
No, the Smash design for Mega Man is great, and that figure it wasn't like a super late one, but it was definitely after, some of the woes early on. And I mean, so Mega Man probably lends itself better to that than like the finer detail. It's big features. It's a, kind of, the robot kind of design and everything. It was always likely to come out well, and it did. That's a really nice one. I've got that as well.
I actually really like the Xenoblade ones I've got. They look really nice.
Again, I mean, the Xenoblade 3 ones in particular is just like, I'm astonished they exist. It just on multiple levels in terms of we're so far removed from, the genesis of this, right? Why the whole product line existed in the first place is just why. Well, it's because Toys to Life is a, hot thing at this particular moment from like 2012, when they're preparing, the Wii U to come onto the market. And when you get into 2014, it shifts a little more to like, okay, you know what? We're kind of struggling with Wii U to sell stuff. We need to be able to make, money other ways, and maybe also, offer some kind of additional inducement for people to, kind of consider getting a Wii U, I guess. But I mean, for all the good it did. But, with all those years later and those commercial conditions are just completely gone, what I mean? All the other Toys to Life stuff, Nintendo's woes, the Switch has been so successful and all this stuff. And then not only that, Xenoblade 3 wasn't even that new by the time this guy. No. It's like, here you go. Here's the 2 main characters. Absolutely, crazy. I've got that double set as well. Again, it's another one of those where you've got to where the more recent figures is like, the detailing and the precision of it is just, kind of on. Even though, like I said, they did improve quite a lot pretty quickly, they've kept getting better. And you can see the truth of that, with these most recent ones.
Yeah, there's detail inside of people's coats that you can really only see by tilting the figure and looking at it from weird angles. So why did you bother? The only way you could do this is if somebody told you it's there and you went and looked at it, or you're a pervert. That's it. That's the first person to know that was trying to look at weird shit. Everybody else is like, there's no way, right? Fuck, there really is. Why? Why is there detail? You have to turn this thing and look down at it to see. That's unnecessary, but it's there. It's impressive. It's there. It's just very thorough. The 2 for Pyra and Mythra have incredible sculpts. Just so much detail in the modeling, and like very small pieces of paint, like very tiny but precise paint application. And lots of texture to them, like different, like shiny versus matte finished paint to kind of give it different, like the light hits it in different ways. It's kind of nuts. John, so besides the 2 amiibo you didn't know you owned, do you have any others?
Yeah, I have a few. I have the 8-bit Mario, and then I have the Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak amiibos.
Which look very nice.
Yeah, they're very nice.
They're also really well sculpted.
Yep, they look really cool.
Greg, I know you said you've got the double pack from 3.
Yes.
I'm gonna guess you've got some Yoshi amiibo.
Definitely Yoshi.
Actually,
I don't have all the Yoshis. Yoshi's got quite a lot of what.
Yoshi has quite a few.
I don't have all of that. I definitely don't have the Super Mario one. I've got the one from the first. Was it the first wave? I think he was in the first wave. Yoshi. Yes. With Smash, and I did actually use that a bit in terms of like, so you could kind of make a custom. Smash 4, Wii U 3DS had kind of custom like alternate moves, and you could make a kind of custom build and then fight with that and stuff. So I kind of used it for that. I can remember that. But then of course there was the Yarn Yoshis that came later. So I had the little one, and then the big one. Kind of thought I wouldn't bother, but then it was like half price at a shop in person, and I was like, oh, fuck it. Let's get, and that is a really, really nice, big, cute Yoshi figure. It does also, have the amiibo same functionality. I believe you could say that was another one where it had writable element, actual writable element, because it was like, you could do a custom design for your Yoshi, I think on the 3DS version or something, and you could save it to the amiibo or something like that. There was definitely another writable one which I own because it had because it was in a bundle. Twilight Princess HD Wolf Link. I'm fairly confident you wrote something to that. It was something to do with like they had another like Pit of Trials type of deal where there's like however many floors, and you saved your progress there or something, and it kind of and then that carried over a little bit in the Breath of the Wild vaguely, because you could like use the amiibo to summon the wolf, and I don't know whether it used that data to like say, oh, this is like a stronger wolf link because you've got further in that thing or something. So that is correct. All relatively kind of uncommon, like actual use of that sort of thing for that. But yeah, I've got a lot of Zelda ones as well. I've got Majora's Mask, Young Link. I've got Toon Link. I've mentioned before, I love that one because it is the box. It's the box art of the Japanese box art, we should say, not the boring golden. Just it's gold. Western. Yes. It's the actual Japanese box for Wind Waker, and I love that. It's such a great image, and it's really nicely recreated there. But it's quite a few. I've got Samus Returns. Samus. That's a cool one because it's, pretty much a recreation of the classic box art for the original Return of Samus, from the Game Boy, but just with the kind of redesign, armor that she's wearing in that. And it's just, I don't know, I don't have the Leaning Tower of Samus Smash one, which is like you said, is fine, like, especially compared to some of those, unless you got like the weird, like, the ones where it literally is lean into one side, or I think there was some sort of misprint where she had double cannon arms for some reason. But yeah, like
that's amazing.
I think it's pretty accurate to what she looks like in Other M, but where the shoulders are smaller and stuff, and it's like, it's probably less weird looking to like people who aren't, Metroid fans, but to me, like the giant shoulders and all that, that's more authentically Samus. Like that's what she's meant to look like. So I definitely like that Samus Returns one, and the squishy Metroid. You got
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that's a relatively unique type of figure. Yeah, I've got squishy Metroid, Samus Returns, Samus. Struggle to think of anything else right now, but
did you get the Emmy?
No, I didn't have the Emmy at first. I did get it eventually when that got cheaper, because it's just like, again, it's funny. I think the middle portion of Dread, where she's got like the more like traditional color scheme, I think that looks really cool. I'm just was kind of disappointed that the blue one is what the kind of initial look in that game is what they went for the figure, because it's still, it's cool. It just ends up reminding me of Spider-Man with the blue and the red together.
A little bit, yeah. I guess it's just more distinct from her Smash Brothers one.
I can understand why they went that way, but I do think she looks really cool in that game with the more, but like still with quite a lot of white in the suit. but the red and the kind of red and gold, more like traditional kind of various suit looking, kind of what would have been cool. But I did end up getting it when it was cheaper, just because it's like, well, you know, they probably stopped doing these. So there's been a few where it's like they've cheap. Like I got Ness was like for £3 when that was like
nice.
that was like nothing. And so ones that I wouldn't have otherwise got, but the other part of it is just this feeling of like, they're not going to keep doing these, so you may as well like get some.
Oh yeah.
And then they keep going. Like, I mean, not that, you know, it'd be a particular sort of one that I'd be that interested in, but like just the other, whatever it was, like however many weeks ago, we had those new Splatoon ones where it's like, oh, you know, alternate outfits for the idol groups from the first couple of games or whatever. It's like, what? I can't. I am routinely amazed that it keeps happening. And I will say, do we eliminate the possibility of some sort of Xenoblade X amiibo? Considering, you know, we did get stuff for 3. Maybe we could get Elmer, although the thing that I've always would really have liked
Scales
is vehicles in general, right? You know, I mean, we talked about the R-Wing thing for Starlink, but you know, R-Wings, Blue Falcon, you know, F-Zero cars, like things just like F-Zero characters, no. F-Zero cars, yes. That's you know, like that's the kind of, and Skells, just like cool stuff like that. I really feel like you could have had like the Landmaster from Star Fox, and you know, like I gotta give it like this is getting more out there, but like, you know, with Star Fox Zero, one of the key features was like the whole transforming in the chicken walker thing. If you had like a transformable toy or something like that, you know, like they just went like totally on characters, and that to me kind of limited the appeal somewhat, I think.
I agree. I would love to have, like, I think if Xenoblade X sells, let's say 2 million threshold, which is kind of where the other two Xenoblades have landed, I feel like the prospect is there of something. But I think they will wait a little bit to see. Guillaume, I didn't ask. What do you got?
It's not a spectacular collection. You know, I have the expected Yarn Yoshi,
because the game came with a Yarn Yoshi, didn't it? I think that's why I've got one.
Yeah, and in that same vein, like the Chibi Robo.
I've got Chibi Robo. Yeah, I forgot about him. That's great. I mean, you had to. That's perfect, isn't it? That is absolutely perfect.
Oh, and it looks really good. I mean, it's a low detail character, but it looks really good.
It's not size accurate to actually plug him into an outlet, though. So
no,
that's opportunity there.
Probably by design.
And I had to get an Olimar at some point, even though I don't think he does anything in Pikmin 3 Deluxe or 4. Like, it's just for Smash.
I want to say you get stuff, but that's it.
I think there's a Mii racing suit in Mario Kart that you get, you know, for the Pikmin themed. If you scan Olimar, you get that kind of you know, like spacesuit type of thing. But also that reminds me of another one I do have that I haven't mentioned, the Pikmin one. That's just for Hey Pikmin, where Olimar's not there. It's just a bunch of different Pikmin types.
That's a good one. It looks really nice.
Yeah, I don't have that one.
For Hey Pikmin of all things, man.
Right, but other than that, like the Pixel Mario, the Toad is the only Mario character that I got from that first wave of Mario.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they released with Mario Party, right? Anyway, like it was.
Yeah, I think Mario 10. They might have bundled that with like Captain Toad at some point, and maybe not at first. I can't remember. I feel like I saw a listing for that eventually, but yeah,
it's possible.
Originally, it was just a standalone figure in the Mario line, but I think maybe because they had the you know, one of the things they tried to do. Again, it's just a simple, like, you know, I think it's just
there was a patch in Captain Toad where they just hid little
pixel toads
icons, basically, pixel toads,
just like kind of
basically stickers on the in in each level, and you had to touch it to
it was kind of exploiting the fact that all those levels were like, you know, holding some sort of like puzzle box in your hands, and it was just like keep like rotating it until you find the little wall that pixels. And sometimes it would be like, oh, he's behind a little poster, or you know, they found some funny places to put that. But you know, like I'm pretty sure that if you played just the Switch version, like they don't make you scan the amiibo to do that. Like it's just there, like which it always could have been, but yeah, but again, they were trying to, you know, find reasons to get people to use this stuff at that point.
So and solely because Karen likes Luigi, I got the Smash Brothers Luigi, you know, not pea stand, but,
planking stand,
planking stand.
So your Olimar one, you're right. It's not supported in those two games, but it is supported in Hey Pikmin, where it calls in 4 Pikmin, which is not exactly a lot of Pikmin.
Yeah, I guess
you can get a maximum of like 10 or 12.
Yeah, Hey Pikmin isn't the sort of mass warfare of mass casualty sort of tactics of because they presumably just couldn't deal with. They're more like Yoshi's eggs in Yoshi's Island, you know, which you can have like 6 of at a time. Now you can have more than that, and there is more like puzzles, you know, light puzzle elements of like, okay, you know, you can send a bunch of a certain type up here, and it'll like open a gate or so, yeah, some kind of mechanism or something. But yeah, that is because it's side scrolling and on 3DS and all that, it's definitely smaller scales. But it doesn't sound very impressive, does it? That's not one for a good checklist item.
Yeah, your Yoshi Woolly Worlds, both versions, you get a pattern based on him. Obviously, the Smash Brothers games. And then WarioWare Gold, you get a sketch from Wario of the character you scanned, in this case, Olimar.
Oh, I don't think I ever actually bothered with that, but I remember hearing about it, thinking that is a delightfully stupid like thing to do with Amiibo integrated. It's like, okay, each Amiibo you scan, you get Wario's interpretation of what that character is, like that, and it's sort of warped in that way. Like that is very silly.
So yeah, that's I as a few, I kind of look at this list and go like, God, I wish I'd kind of gotten that one. So how many, I think I may have already said, but there are 241 figurine Amiibo, which is nuts.
Man, that's a lot. That is so. I mean, really, like when Amiibo when they were announced, I did not think that there would be 241 figurines. That seems excessive. It really does.
Oh yeah. But it's when we start getting into things like there's an Amiibo for Dark Souls 1.
Yeah. It also feels like that. What that tells me is that Amiibo have kept being released long after I stopped paying attention to them.
Oh yeah. I mean, I bet you couldn't even begin to guess how many Monster Hunter Amiibo there are.
I mean, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6.
Yes. So you have the full Rise collection then.
Yeah, I have the full Rise collection.
But then the Stories ones has a bunch too.
Right. Yeah.
There are 9 of those.
Oh wow.
Did all of those actually get out of Japan, or were some of them just exclusive to Japan, I feel like? But obviously the game got out of Japan, but I feel like some of those Amiibo may have stayed there. And obviously they had a different aesthetic, you know, to go with the game, you know, the brighter colours and the kind of
anime style, yes. Kurapika and Dan never made it out of Japan. It looks like 2 of them never made it out of Japan.
Which reminds me of one Amiibo I'm quite sure never got out of Japan. QB.
Yes.
That was only with the physical sort of collection that they made for Box Boy in Japan. I feel like the QB, and also I don't have a Kirby, which is a shock because I mean.
So actually, I have a question on that. How many figurine Kirby Amiibo are there?
I think there's only 2, isn't there?
You're right. It is only 2.
That's kind of. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. I'm still kind of surprised I've never got around to getting one. But I'm also surprised that there aren't more, in a sense. The only thing I'll say is, again, with Kirby, especially in Japan, he is mercilessly merchandised, kind of a bit outside of the Nintendo machine, right? So maybe it's a bit like, obviously, yes, we have the Pokemon for Smash Brothers, but that's kind of it. And then obviously Pokemon does its own absolutely relentless, merciless merchandising machine elsewhere, so I assume it's somewhat that. But they did have their own Kirby line outside of the Smash figures. You had Kirby and Waddle Dee and Prince King Dedede again and stuff. But yeah, it kind of felt like maybe that would have had more legs than it did. But
no, yeah, they had a whole Kirby set, but like that besides the Smash Brothers stuff. But no, there's only one Kirby in that set, so that plus Smash gets you to 2. Kind of surprising.
Okay, I mean, it never happened, but you really need the entire set, the whole everybody is here set of Kirby doing copy abilities of every character in Smash Ultimate.
I thought for sure there would be a mouthful mode one, but there really isn't.
That's
like,
a
I'm
good
kind of stunned.
point.
But I
that
mean,
is a
like,
really
that's
good point.
But I get the feeling that HAL's just doing their own thing, because there are so many Kirby's that you can just buy, so many figures.
I've seen stuff on Amazon Japan of like the car mouthful mode, like a soft toy one and stuff. Like there's shitloads of merchandise in general, but they could have had something that had some functionality with the game. They could have done, but I'm sure they're just fine with their already very robust efforts to merchandise Kirby.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so I guess I'll close it out here because I don't know that we have anything else we want to say on it. Like, I'm kind of surprised we're still here. We're still getting Amiibo. I had a question about what was the last year we got an Amiibo, but y'all would have gotten this because we've talked about it. It was in fact this year. But it's not even been like guaranteed that we get. So I'll just put it in this terms. Number of games that supported Amiibo that came out. Only 2 came out this year. 3 came out last year. So, and this year it was, Echoes of Wisdom supports Amiibo.
Definitely, yeah.
And Monster Hunter Stories port to Switch supports Amiibo.
I guess it probably did on 3DS, right? Like,
it did.
If you had a new model or again the add-on, so I guess they were just being faithful in recreating that.
But like, it's weird. So in 2020, I mean, granted, 2020, only 3 games supported Amiibo. We'd seen the drop off. It was like 18, 20, 27, 18. 2019, it was 8. One of which was a 3DS game. 2020 it was 3, but then 2021 we're back up to 9, and 2022 5, 3, 2. So we're really trickling down.
Yeah, you just get every now and again you get some weird stuff that you're supposed like they're at the culmination of all that booster pass stuff for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's like, oh yeah, here's a bunch more like costumes and stuff that I think and was it so like I think previously like the Daisy Amiibo didn't make like a suit and now it does or something. Like every now and again they surprise you with remembering something that they could do with Amiibo, but equally it's like, yeah, it's by no means a mandate or anything important because it's very sort of frivolous. So I guess they mostly decide this stuff purely based on, does somebody want it out there, that works on these games, and do they think they can sell enough to justify it?
But the Amiibo coming out, we got 7 Amiibo this year. We got 11 last year and 9 in 2022. We got 75 in 2021, but that was because another card series dropped. I think I know what card series that was. That was the Animal Crossing Series 5. There was... That's not the only thing. It had to be another card set. There's actually a lot of Amiibo like legitimate Amiibo that came out this year. But yeah, I think a lot of them come down to the card. The Animal Crossing cards. But yeah, I mean, there was quite the Yu-Gi-Oh cards So in Japan, there are Yu-Gi-Oh cards that are amiibo. The Yu-Gi-Oh Rush Duel Saikyo Battle Royale series. That there's, I want to say 10 in that set. But yeah, there's a decent number that came out that year. And then, some of the years where the cards are really dropping, like 2021, we still got 20 physical amiibo and 55 cards. But 2015 was bonkers. That was 204 cards and 71 figures in 1 year. 2016 was 34 figures and 258 cards. So 2020 obviously is what it is. We only got 4 the whole year, but we got 7 this year. That's quite a bit. I mean, I'm going to guess we're probably going to still be getting them in 2026 at the current rate, which means Nintendo will have outlived its toy-to-live brethren by a decade.
Well, I mean, I would be very surprised if Switch 2 did not support amiibo. So there's just no way at this point, because the games are backwards compatible. So
yeah, so they confirmed we didn't talk about this, but they confirmed at the investors briefing yesterday that the Switch's successor will be backwards compatible with Switch software, but they worded it in a way that got me wondering about something. Let me go find the exact wording. This is a little bit off topic, and we need to transition. So
is this Furukawa's statement?
Yeah, so this is Furukawa as he posts
that
on
is
Twitter.
like a kind of template, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like when we've had something like, we've got an announcement about the Mario movie or the Zelda movie, we get, this is Miyamoto, and so yeah, it's not reserved only for the president of NCL.
So that they've kind of stamped out people live tweeting the event. So this really didn't come out until after Furukawa himself picked up the phone and tweeted it, apparently, in English. It says, we announced at today's corporate management policy briefing, we announced that Nintendo Switch software will also be playable on the successor to Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch Online will be available to the successor of Nintendo Switch as well. When they say that, they mean the service, not the games, but I assume they also mean the games since the software is backwards compatible. Further information on the successor of Nintendo Switch, including its compatibility with Nintendo Switch, will be announced at a later date. But somewhere else, they use the wording like select, which leads me to wonder if maybe some games aren't going to make the jump.
Well, I haven't seen that, but I would assume that maybe some of the same ones that are not compatible with like the what's it called? The smaller Switch that does not have the Joy-Con detachable.
Switch Lite.
The Lite, thank you. But
Let me see if I
don't know what's wrong with me.
Find it.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? It was a bit of if some of the aspects of the presentation that they made there, that they've made obviously had also available publicly now. There was a kind of reflective element to a lot of that, wasn't there? Not surprising considering we are presumably only months away from the announcement. At most, we're months away.
Yes.
Could be sooner.
Yes.
Where, it's like, okay, this by, all this stuff about how, by unifying the product line, into a single system rather than, Wii U and 3DS and DS and Wii and so forth. We've been able to grow individual, franchises so much. So it's just like, well, this is how many Metroid games we've sold on one platform versus, how much we did on Wii U and 3DS, which, obviously, I don't know whether I'm going to say it's outright disingenuous or misleading, but it's like, Wii U was such a dead duck. Like, it's not the most sort of fair grounds for comparison if we're talking strictly about the virtues of having one platform. But, it did feel like it's kind of like, this is what we've done. Like, and this is it. You know what I mean? Like, this is the sum total of what the Switch has achieved. As we're about to move on from it, so you kind of very much.
It was a victory.
And also a whole bit of it is just kind of like, let's talk about how great this, sort of generation has been for us. As in the immediate term, they are actually having to cut the forecast that they already made for this fight because the pace has been slower to this point. We're halfway through. This fiscal year now, they've taken $1 million off, I think, from So
Yes.
like we was 12.5 and it's down to 11.5, or maybe it was 30, 13
like that,
it was down to 12, but not a massive percentage cut in what they're expecting. But, and of course the thing is, we're halfway through, but in terms of how much you sell, the back half is where the action is, right? With the holiday.
Right.
So, whether that ends up being, if you do relatively well in that, you could easily kind of make up for a softer first 6 months. Whereas if it hits that even harder, well, maybe the cut that they've made in the projection is, not even going to be adequate or accurate, should I say. But, yeah, it definitely felt like, it was interesting, that we actually got a little bit of news at all. I wouldn't about the successor without the being the time to trigger the announcement. But, it felt part and parcel of this kind of like, we're starting to put the cap on, everything that we've done in this generation, all the great, commercial milestones that it's achieved.
Here's the quote that I was referencing. This is actually from the briefing itself. In addition to being able to play Nintendo Switch software they currently own, consumers will be able to choose their next purchase from, quote, a broad selection of titles released for Nintendo Switch. So I take it to mean that everything will be playable, but there may be some games that aren't in the successor's digital marketplace. Maybe because of deals that were signed when the game came out. Yeah. Maybe because they're finally going to fucking curate that shop so there's not 9 hentai games.
The shop will not necessarily let you buy everything that was available on Switch. Yeah, it might be for the best. But because certain licensing deals, like it might not govern another platform that comes later, or might be time limited. Right. So by the time we get to the next system, it might have expired. So I guess it's safe to just, kind of say broad rather than say all, because that won't be technically true, but we'll see.
Yeah, like there could be games that are no longer purchasable on Switch that would transfer over if you own them, but you're not going to be able to buy them on the new system. You just can't buy them on the current one. Yeah. I don't know. Anybody else have anything they want to say about Amiibos before we wrap this segment?
It's just not it's not something that ever appealed to me. I'm not super into figurines or cards. So, I'm kind of surprised I have as many Amiibos as I do, like 5 or 6.
I'm kind of surprised at the number I've handled. have since disposed of.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a very limited appeal for me, The games that I really like, it's cool, but I mean, just the kind of run of the mill Nintendo stuff. It's I feel like there's so much of that out there.
It was interesting though, because it did allow for some Nintendo properties that don't really get merch to get something.
Yeah, that's what I'm sure I've mentioned this over these. I love the improbable stuff. I love Chibi Robo, Mr. Game & Watch. Rob coming back as a figure, and they even had his Famicom colours as a variant, or the Duck Hunt dog and all that, that kind of stuff. It was cool for actually, being able to bring the Little Mac and this stuff like that was cool. The other stuff, like John says, there's a whole merchandising empire for Mario, and
I don't need more Mario.
Kind of as it is really, So and I think obviously Xenoblade, kind of falls into that as well.
Yeah.
Who'd be thinking that the game that fucking Reggie was treating like some sort of radioactive turd ends up getting a bunch of figures and stuff. I love that aspect of it, but they never really could do anything that interesting with the functionality, and that kind of got what they did do with it got dialed back and stuff. So it's kind of, it kind of weirdly, it certainly didn't exceed expectations in some ways, but then it definitely did in others in terms of just longevity and the kind of breadth of it and stuff. And as we already mentioned with vehicles and whatnot, it's I still feel like there was cooler things that they could have done with it, but on the other hand, it's kind of some of the stuff we did get is improbable and miraculous in its own way, so we can complain that much.
Yeah, they cast a broader net with how they use their toys to life than their competitors, which might have been caused them to be able to be more successful in that space. But it does mean that the individual implementations were largely much less interesting than something in a Disney Infinity, where you would unlock content and playable characters and stuff like that. yeah, I think that will do it for the Amiibo retrospective. I can't believe that thing's been around for 10 friggin' years and might make it to 12. It's in a weird way, even though it's started as a Wii U 3DS thing, it's kind of symbolic of the Switch, where it's just like, it's just going to keep going. And that's just what it does. So yeah, I suspect we'll probably keep seeing Amiibo for at least another couple years, because do we know of any that aren't out at this moment?
Are those Splatoon ones out? I know they got announced.
Maybe not.
But
maybe not.
I'm not sure. I can't remember. They might have been timed for that last Splatfest. I forget the Grand Festival or whatever. So maybe they are out by now. But yeah, so yeah, I'm not sure if we've got anything that's on the books, to come out yet. But like I said, with this policy of like going back to games that already came out, like in 2022,
yeah,
I mean, sure. We can't eliminate stuff, and I guess the thing is like, look, I mean, as long as the Switch successor supports, Joy-Con, for instance, or like wirelessly, if it doesn't support them, actually attaching to the system because it's got a different form factor, or it supports like the classic controller, the Pro controller or whatever, that Switch has, that also has even if it didn't have an NFC reader built into like the unit itself or its default controllers, if it does have backwards compatibility with those controllers from the Switch era, that could offer an opportunity. Obviously, like Microsoft, all the stuff is all the old pads still work like on Series X, right? Is that not true for PS5? I have no idea.
I don't think it
is.
So
it depends which way Nintendo goes on that. I wouldn't take that for granted by any means.
I got one last question for y'all. This one's really dumb, and there's almost no chance y'all get it, but it's fine anyway. What is the heaviest Amiibo?
It depends. If you hollow out the Mega Yarn Yoshi and put like lead in it, I mean, it's got to be pretty heavy, isn't it?
It would be pretty heavy. It's actually not that heavy, the Mega Yarn Yoshi.
Oh.
Compared to some other ones.
Maybe, my guess from the ones that I have would be maybe Magnamalo.
Magnamalo is up there, but he's not in the top 10.
Okay. He's a pretty big one. Malzeno's also pretty big as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hang on a minute. I mean, I guess the thing is that
like King DDD or something.
It's not very thick. The one I'm thinking, Big Man, Splatoon 3.
Big Man is big, but Big Man's not real heavy. Not real heavy.
Too thin, I guess.
Yeah. So I'll give you one that's not it, but Daruk.
Oh yeah. They had all the sages or whatever they were called. The champions.
Yeah, he's 192 grams. He's fucking massive. But he gets smoked by some of these other ones in front of him.
Man.
All right, so my first thought was, is it the cereal box? Because it's full of cereal.
Because it's got the fucking razor crustios in it that are made out of a very dense material.
The answer is at 255 grams. No, it is not the cereal box with cereal. It is also not the Guardian Amiibo that came out with Breath of the Wild.
Cool. Yeah, it's got those they've got the arms and all that. It's got to be one of the bigger. I mean, obviously, like the Yoshi's really big, but like the non for something that's huge. Non-fabric, like that's got to be big.
At 322 grams, the winner though is also a big piece of plastic. Give y'all one last chance to think of it.
Detective Pikachu! There's a giant
Bang!
Detective
there
Pikachu!
It is. Yeah, that's the one. At 373 grams. He's fucking massive.
I totally forgot about that. I'm like racking my brain. Like, is there one that's just like really stupidly big plastic? And there it is.
Yeah, it's enormous. It's kind of amazing, but like also, why the fuck is it so big? It's so large. I'm trying to get its exact proportions. It is over twice the height of the Pikachu amiibo from Smash Brothers. It is gigantic, and they still put it in the big stupid plastic wrap. If you put it on, here's the real kicker. If you put it on the screen of the new 3DS, because they put the support for NFC in the new 3DS. You don't have
yeah,
to
it's built in, but yeah, you would to read it, you just put it on the touchscreen, the lower screen.
He covers the entire screen and then some.
It's crazy.
It's so big. It's so stupid. But yeah, that is at least according to the measurements. Like, it is twice the size of the Charizard and Amiibo, Charizard and Mewtwo Amiibo. Based on the information that I have at this time, that is the heaviest Amiibo that has ever been produced. I want to say it might be close to Pikachu sized, like actual Pikachu sized, which is absurd. But yeah, that's the biggest one. All right, well, that is going to do it for this time. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and do some of your email for 900, and that will do the show for us. So stay tuned for that. We are back with a special edition of Listener Mail. Why is it special? Well, it's episode 900, and you all sent us a bunch of really nice emails. Some of them just explicitly were congratulations. Some of them were congratulations with the question. We're not going to get to all of them this week. So we tried to get a sampling of those emails. And so we wanted to get to as many as we could. And we're not exactly super email proficient when it comes to getting speed out there. So email, send them, rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. That's rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. The email message is getting through because emails have been up the last few weeks, and I love that for you.
So James, would you say this is going to be a very special listener mail?
They're all special.
Sort of like an 80s sitcom kind of like, Joey does speed and while studying for his exams, and then he flips out.
This is a family show.
And he comprehends the danger of drugs kind of thing.
He's taking over-the-counter caffeine pills because it's a family show.
Right. Right. Was it caffeine pills? God, it's so lame.
That's what the script said, yes. Yes, you're right. It is lame.
That is so lame. I mean,
they didn't have him out there doing bumps to get through his studies.
It's like, wow, I drank a Monster Energy drink and now I can't handle it. It's too crazy.
I don't like who this turned me into.
Yeah.
You mean someone who's awake? You didn't like that?
Yeah, I'm gonna have.
I also don't like that lately.
I'm gonna have to revisit
fine.
That Family Ties episode. I'm gonna have to.
I think it was literally just caffeine.
Man, that's ridiculous.
They weren't going to let them have him out there doing, like, speedballs or whatever. It was,
I mean,
it is what it is.
I would think at least amphetamines, right? Anyways, email.
Email, not amphetamines. Do you hear that? DEA, not amphetamines. I'll read the first email that is not amphetamines. No, it's from Meowth. It might actually be amphetamines. Bad Boy Meowth writes, oh, crap. 900 is today. I don't know what about another taste of a Gex novel I've been hearing about? Oh, God. As an excellent Play It Loud expat, my relationship with Nintendo over the... Ancient. Sorry, you're right. He talked about the Gex novel, and my brain went... Pfft. As an ancient Play It Loud expat, my relationship with Nintendo over the years has been cyclical. And The Day the Music Died was exactly what I needed when I needed it. I've been a fan ever since, and RFN continues to be the high point of my Mondays. I don't know what direction this episode will go, but here's to at least 300 more. Thanks, sorry in advance, and love the snow. 300 more, oh God.
This is going to be, it's about 6 years, right? So
yeah, we do about 50 a year. Johnny noted in the, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, that the feed has 2,000 episodes on it. With all the other like weird one-off. But that seems really strange to me. I don't understand it. So I need to go dig in and understand how that could even be true. Or maybe it's 1,000. It was 1,000.
I think it was 2,000.
It was 2,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess like there would be like that. Like all the Famicast episodes are still there. Back when we hosted those.
But that's 1,100 more things.
Yeah, but I kind of wonder if maybe Johnny's app was just off. Is that possible? Like, did you go and check?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. No, I didn't check. No, God, no.
Okay.
What kind of outfit do you think I'm running here? I was in the dark all Sunday night. I certainly didn't check on that shit. Power went out. Not because I was just lost. Anyway, I think that's probably one of my favorite episodes. I mean, it sucked to record the day the music died. It sucked.
Oh, and again, you got to for anybody that's not familiar with the context of it is basically the kind of earnings report and the sales figures that confirmed that
this is specifically the Wii U.
The Wii U was not turning round. It was dead, and it was going to be on to the next thing.
Yeah, because we kept going like, all right, wait for Christmas. Maybe this will be it. Mario Kart 8's coming out. Maybe this will be it.
It's just a little airborne. It's still good.
Yeah, it's exactly. Yes. And eventually it just, nope, this isn't happening. Nintendo announced they were going to pursue a successor. Is that also the time when they announced they were going to look at mobile games? That was a separate announcement, I think.
I would have thought so, yeah. But it kind of the writing was on the wall, basically, you know, and the ramifications of that, you know, kind of got covered as a result, you know.
Yeah, and we had to do a lot of like internal conversation about like what does this mean for, you know, Nintendo? Like it was because it wasn't clear where Nintendo was going to be in 3-4 years.
Yeah, doing a Nintendo podcast was kind of a harrowing experience because there really wasn't a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah, Johnny handed over the show to me right around the time being the host of a Nintendo podcast was super fun.
Yeah,
it was, it's a lot better now because now, I mean, all these years later, you don't have to talk about things like amiibo. Oh shit!
Whoops.
I mean, there was the run I did of the summer of Too Hot for Games because there were no games coming out that summer at all.
I know. Think about that, right? Now it's like, my God, look at all this completely 180 degrees. Wow, look at all of these garbage games on the eShop. It's ridiculous.
It was like, James, what are you going to talk about this week? So I imported this fucking weird shit from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where we were at that point.
Yeah.
I had to make my own fun on this show, so we've definitely come around on that. Yeah, now the Switch is it is what was it? It's at 140 million now, I think 142.
Yeah, definitely. They tacked on not like a huge number in the last quarter, but yeah, crept a bit further up the 140 some odd figure that they're currently at.
Yeah, so. Yeah, it was a wild 180. But yeah, I think that was a really good episode for the show. I think the Skyward Sword episode, when we were all recording our first impressions of it, was also kind of like, huh.
It's always nice when you get that. It doesn't happen that often when it's like everyone's been playing the same game and they're pretty deep into it. And you could obviously, we had that with Xenoblade X as well, and that was a lot of fun to talk about.
Oh yeah, Xenoblade X one was really fun. I enjoy, in retrospect, the two Ogre Battle ones more than I think I did at the time. Like, I've listened to them a few times since then, and like, my joy of those games is just so obvious, and like, me just rattling off things and people being like, what the fuck, you can do that? And me going, yeah, of course you can do that. Why wouldn't you be able to do that? It was kind of fun. Like, it was just fun to do that. I think Corrections was also really good because that was when we recorded the whole episode, including the breaks. That's 104. That's after 103 when Johnny came back and was like... Yeah. But then the stinger is just all the shit we said about him while he was gone during the break, which was all just incredibly mean-spirited. It was like, so like he didn't hear any of that until he listened to the episode. And then he was gone for 105 and left Greg in charge and had to come back and do a mini corrections anyway.
Well, that was just the E3 thing, right, basically. It was so it was just, we had fun thinking, like, what could happen at E3? And, there was a lot of jabs at Ubisoft. And, yeah, I think Johnny was just come back and said, you're full of shit. So, I mean, it's brief, I guess, relative to the post-103.
It was, yeah. The 104 corrections episode, it dominates the episodes. Like, everybody's like, oh, 103 is a disaster. 104 at least has, like, a villain. It's not clear who the villain is of 104, but there is a villain. 103's villain is obvious and apparent, and it's Stan Ferguson for tricking me for letting him have Carl on the show at the same time. But yeah, those two go together as a set. You really can't. You should not consume 103 without consuming 104 along with it. But even 105 has more recriminations to go along with it. But yeah, some of the retroactive, some of the feature topics, those are some of our best shows. We have a joke that the best episode of the show got eaten. But you'll never get to hear it, but that's fine. It's not actually true, but it's fun to say it. A couple of the telethon episodes are really fun. They were miserable to record. Like the telethon, part of the reason we don't do the telethon anymore is it's miserable. Like it's fun to do a segment. It's miserable to run the show.
It's so long.
It's a slog. Like, I mean, the last one I did was 13 hours. I was in this chair for 13 hours, bringing people in and out of calls, making sure audio quality was good, making sure the recordings were live. And when it's done, guess what I get to do? I get to produce those segments again. I get to cut them into episodes and publish them. And before the recording, what did I do? I produced every segment on the show to make sure that the people knew where they were needed to be and had other guests lined up. Yeah, it's misery.
Well, and the thing is, I realized the importance of it, so I made sure that I was on time every time.
Yes. That the Seren coming in and telling us you were posting on Twitter.
That was amazing. I wasn't just posting on Twitter. That makes me sound completely irresponsible. Actually, it's even better. I was hyping the show on Twitter.
Yes,
that
you were missing.
That I was like 15 minutes late for and didn't realize it. I'm like, hey, everybody should listen. And you're like, oh, listen to this segment that you're literally supposed to be on right this minute? Yeah, they probably should. And you should too, John. Why don't you join us?
I was so mad. I had already been at it for like 3 hours at that point doing setups. I was already in a bad mood.
And it just wasn't clear to me that we were actually, like, I thought it would, I just misunderstood. I didn't realize that all of RFN would be kicking the show off. So I was thinking that my segment that I was going to be on at 10 a.m., not 9 a.m.
There was a published schedule.
Yeah. I'm sure there was.
So, yeah, I actually really enjoyed the segments that you and I did because it proved that no matter how much prep we do, it's going to go to hell immediately.
Well, yeah, and I mean, some of that stuff too, it's like there wasn't really, I mean, you could prep for it, but some of the stuff I was just coming off the top of my head, right?
Oh, yeah, and we actually prepped more than most segments. That's the scary part. We prepped a lot for the J&J segments, and it didn't matter because, like, it just turned into like a dick measuring contest. Who can make the most outrageous statement in the hour we have? And they got fucking weird.
For sure.
The one set in the 80s, which was the origin of J&J Dream Factory, was very, very odd. The idea we originally had was I was going through licensed games from the 80s. This is behind the scenes. And I was just dumbfounded at how few games there were that targeted young girls at that point. There were like 5 that I found total.
I mean, video games were kind of considered a boy's hobby.
Yeah, and how all of them were terrible.
Yeah.
They're not just like, oh, there's not that many. They're all on worst of lists. And it was like, okay, is this just like a gender thing where it's like, oh, Barbie, that's terrible. No, they're actually like really awful, like really tremendously awful games.
Yeah. Well, it's because they really probably came from a bunch of 40-year-old male executives saying, hey, I
need a Barbie game.
Yeah. Ask that girl over there what she likes. Oh, okay. Make a game. I don't care what you do with it. Just whatever.
The original segment that we were workshopping was we were going to ambush female members of the staff with, I can't remember what we told them we were going to be talking about, but instead we were going to be bringing them on and trying to sell them on games that actually existed in the time frame. Mm-hmm. Like, we were just going to pitch the game exactly as it is and try to hype it. Like, you want to buy this game, right? You're our focus group. You think this game's great, right? And just we realized they would just get really mad at us.
Yeah.
We're like, no, we can't do that. We're going to make 4 members of the staff pissed.
Well, it's like everybody back then was making games about what somebody told them little girls liked.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there wasn't actually any knowledge or any, like, you know, interest in actually really finding out, like, what the reality of that was. It was just like, oh, yeah, the girls like dolls, right?
Yeah, and the whole thing was actually inspired by the thing that was Catalyst. Like, I had that information from us reviewing the games. It was that famous meme that got posted of a picture inside of a GameStop of the Games for Girls segment, and it was just like fucking terrible shit all the way down.
Yeah,
and that was from like 2012. But then it was like on the NES, it was even worse.
It would be like horses with a Z. Because girls like horses,
exactly.
Right? Girls love ponies, and
girls love horses.
Right?
The more Z's you put on it, the more they love it. Yeah. So those were really fun episodes as well. Like there's a ton of in the back catalog of just episodes that I adore. There are episodes that just go off the rails completely that are a lot of fun. And those are the ones I like to, not like 1 or 3 off the rails, but just like we get silly and we just have like I really enjoyed the Alarmo segment. Like I edited that episode and then I listened to it again because I enjoyed that segment. It was fun. It was stupid. It had good conversation in it, but also like we're getting to talk about how dumb the whole idea is. Like, that was really cool. There's a few dealing with Nintendo Switch Online games where we're just dumbfounded a game is released and why? Why is it here? Yeah, that kind of stuff. Where it's stuff where we get more back and forth. I think makes those good. But yeah, the big event episodes are the episode after Iwata passed, I seem to recall, is, I don't want to say good, but really, like, it's one of our better episodes from a quality standpoint. Somebody's going to listen to it and they're going to be like, that episode fucking sucks. And then I'm going to feel bad. Don't tell us. You ready for the next email?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Guillaume, would you read Lemonade's email?
Sure. Lemonade writes, Dear RFN, congratulations on reaching 900 episodes. It's an amazing achievement to have kept going with a podcast every week for all these years. I have been a big fan of the show for a long time. My first episode was 441 in August 2015, coincidentally right after Johnny left. So, thanks to James, John, Guy, Greg, Johnny, and the various hosts of the first 100 or so episodes. Love the show and looking forward to episode 1000. That's a little bit more feasible.
Yeah, it's not quite as terrifying as 300 episodes.
Yeah, man.
I think my inertia can keep me going for another 2 years, sure.
Yeah, that World Cup in 2026 is going to keep me going. Come on. Just make it. Just hold on. Just till that, at least.
Is he coming home?
Oh, not that, obviously. No, I've told the story before about how we weren't even at USA 94. I just want to be there. Not physically. I want to watch England play in a World Cup hosted in the US, mostly. Also in Canada and Mexico.
A little bit, yes. All right, that one didn't have a question, so we can just keep rolling. John, would you read Alan's email?
Got it. All right. Dear RFN, thank you so much for all the podcasts. Listening to the backlog from the beginning gave me many smiles and a few belly laughs, which helped more than you'll know during a difficult lockdown. Earlier this year, I felt like playing a JRPG, which I do enjoy, but I often lose interest in the combat after 30 to 40 hours. Dragon Quest VIII is a good example. I ended up buying Bravely Second End Layer for £20 new off of eBay. I hadn't played Bravely Default, but from what I'd heard, the sequel was a bit more refined and it was cheaper, so I gave it a try. I absolutely loved it. Not only did I finish it, but I spent way longer than necessary tweaking the party composition, looking for complementary jobs and skills, configuring the auto battle setup, and grinding by upping the encounter rate and using the Bring It On feature to get extra job points. I did it so much that I ended up reducing the encounter rates in most dungeons so I wasn't too overleveled. I didn't do this with any great efficiency. I just really enjoyed tweaking my setup to match the enemies in the area, figuring out a sequence of attacks /braves /defaults to get through a few rounds at a time, then letting auto battle play it all out repeatedly for 30 minutes so I could unlock some job skills. Do you have any recommendations for other games that allow players to learn a system, tweak configuration, and then watch the action play out in such a satisfying and rewarding way? Thank you again, and happy 900th.
Playing Bravely Second first feels like a fever dream. Because it's fan fiction for Bravely Default. We've talked about it. Like, Greg had the observation, the main character's named you, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, it's kind of like, what if you were in Bravely Default now?
Yeah.
It's a self-insert. Yeah. And it's obviously very predicated on the first one. But I've got to say, in terms of, like, I mean, Bravely Default, which, you know, when we got it in the West, it was already somewhat like a further iteration, right? It was for the sequel
version
that had some more of that kind of quality of life feature type stuff, I think, about like varying encounter rates and so forth. But they iterated on that again for Bravely Second, and they had more new jobs, but yeah, a lot of the old ones with it as well, as I recall. So by the end of it, I mean, it really felt like, yeah, you've got so many options, and yeah, mechanically and stuff. I really enjoyed that game. It was really fun to kind of mess around with all the new jobs and kind of build, you know, a real damage dealing machine as a unit, you know, by the end of the game and stuff like that. So yeah, there's not many that I would say mechanically, you know, kind of did such a kind of great, as good a job as that one did of like getting me to. I'm not usually that desperately keen to kind of get all the way into those sorts of systems and come up with, you know, the most ruthless kind of exploits for, you know, how to farm experience really quickly, or, you know, how to do the most damage. And it usually is just kind of like, look, if I can do well enough to kind of get through the main path and some of the side quests, that's fine. I don't have to worry about getting really crazy over leveled or anything. But, you know, in that case, you just kind of, it just naturally kind of took you pretty deep into that stuff, just with all the sort of, all the various kind of options and jobs that you had. So, even though, yeah, like there's not that much new in terms of like places, or there's some new places or some new characters, but it all does feel a bit of an extension. It's still, and like there's some new music, but it's not as good as the music from the first one, because the music from the first one was really great. So it's kind of high bar. It was still a really cool game. I really enjoyed that one.
Oh yeah, its story is just very stupid.
Sure, but I mean, it's not like it was like, you know, bulletproof before, was it either?
No, it does the weird thing where you encounter, where there's a game where you fight God, and then they have to come up with a sequel for it, and then it's like, well, what do you fight after you've already fought God?
Sure.
And in fact, there's the little character interactions in Bravely Second, where the characters will talk to each other outside the canon of the game. There is a segment where Yu is talking to Tiz about training regimens, and Yu's like, I did 500 push-ups, 900 sit-ups, and squats for 20 minutes today, so I can be like you. And Tiz is like, oh, that's a good warm-up. What's your exercise going to be? And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Tiz fought God and beat him. Not like God of this dimension, God of all the dimensions.
Oh, sure. Yeah, he's trying to consume them all at once, link them all together, and eat the whole thing on a big kebab.
What's you gonna tell Tiz he doesn't already know while Tiz is fanboying?
Well, you have a similar thing with Future Redeemed, don't you? You know, with the God Cleaver Shulk as like an actual title, like when you fight him in training. Like, it's like, oh yeah, this sort of, you know, very sort of polite sounding, you know, kind of soft spoken character in your part. He not only did he sort of fight and defeat God, but he kind of is God as well. Like, he kind of replaced him.
Like, Rex also fought God, but he didn't have the audacity to then also become God. He just wished for 2 hot wives. Because that's how it rolls for Rex's 12-year-old brain. It's so bad. It's so bad. So yeah, there is a certain amount of like, oh yeah, I'm dealing with an actual God Slayer. But at least in that game, it's less, Matthew is just dumb. So it's okay. Yu's actually trying to be serious. Obviously, Bravely Default has a lot of the same stuff in it. If you go back and listen to when we talked about it, I talked about how when I was just like grinding for level, I would come up with the combo of auto moves, and just because you can actually like program in moves and then just tell it to play, and it just loops your commands.
Yeah, there was something I remember was, I think there was something like you could cast, like you had a group casting spell for poison. And then another spell, like that another character would have, which was instant death for anything that's poisoned.
Yes.
And so you could run that really to kill groups of enemies So just again, really quick. And it had, I think, as is alluded to by Alan there, with the sort of the bring it on thing. Like it was almost like a kind of accumulator, like that you would like keep increasing the proportion of the rewards with those job points. And like so that's, and obviously you want it. The big thing about maxing out the jobs, rather than just the raw experience, your general level, is that is opening up the job skills. And they, that's what really makes it interesting, right? This is the substance of the job system is like you can, if you go through all the job levels and they give you access to specific skills, you can then like switch jobs, but retain some of those skills. And then the combinations of those things is where it gets really good. Okay, like it's like, okay, I'll be this job for a while so I can learn that skill and then have it while I'm doing this other job. And that in tandem is just killer. Like it's just really useful, for doing huge amounts of damage or cleaning out, whole groups of enemies in very little, very few turns. It's that kind of stuff that really kind of captures you about it.
And then, of course, Bravely Default 2, the other sequel to Bravely Default.
I haven't played that, so I mean, is it as like, kind of? Is there
it's
as much?
Got all that stuff in it.
Is it as much to tinker with?
I think there is, but I didn't feel like I needed to for whatever reason. I mean, it's got all the job class stuff, and it's got all the auto battle stuff, and it's all there, but. That game is less impressive because it's doing less. Like it is visually more impressive than the 3DS games were, but the bar is so much higher because it's on Switch that you're kind of like, "That's all you got, huh? That's all you're bringing? All you're bringing to the party?" And it's not as interesting in a lot of ways. It's got too good, but it does do the thing that all the other Bravely games do, where it's the two background characters are much more interesting than the protagonist and Deuteronists. Like. Or they're usually like, oh, pretty straight-laced and boring, and then you've got the other two party members who are fucking lunatics. It's the same deal. It's the same crazy people. So that's fun. In terms of games that aren't Bravely games, Final Fantasy 12.
Yeah, that was one that I was going to mention, although I don't love it, but I mean, it does do the thing where, you're setting up your gambits, I think they're called.
You're setting up your gambits and your party.
Yeah. As you progress through the game, you gain more gambits, so you get more options to program auto battles, basically. You still get involved. Like, it's pretty rare that you don't do anything at all, but, so there's that. Final Fantasy 13, I guess, also. Like, that was kind of another version of that, but...
Yeah.
Except,
it's not as customizable.
No, you just change between paradigms, they're called. But, whatever they're called, like, you have... you probably have a lot less control than in Final Fantasy 12. I forget the details. If you can customize your paradigms before... Like, basically, you can have 6 per characters eventually, but... There's something, like, you gotta set them up. Like, you can have a whole lot more, but you can only equip 6. And you have to figure out, like, what's good for your party. You've got a party of 3, and... I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I don't remember how it works. Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
There's demos. You can go play a demo of it.
Sure.
So funny lineage jumping here. So Final Fantasy 12 and Bravely are both Square Enix games. Final Fantasy 12's creator runs back to the Final Fantasy Advance Evil East world, but that team, before they got bought by Square Enix, produced some games for the Ogre series.
Tactics, in fact, they produced all of them. Tactics Ogre, and then Final Fantasy Tactics is it was kind of like the next iteration of that, and then that's where Evil East comes from. Is that right?
Yep. And so that they also produce the Ogre Battle games, which are very close to what you're talking about here. You build out a party instead of individual characters, and you set them on the map and give them directions on where you want them to go. And it is infinite tinkering, because you can tinker with the configuration of the party, its membership, the configuration being like where they stand on the grid. That affects what they do, how they act, when they act, how they interact with each other. You can change all the individual equipment of every character. You can change their class many times throughout the game. You can mix and match characters from different parties. And then, like I said, once you turn them loose on the map and say, like, your objective is that place, they're just going to do their thing. But that whole franchise evolved twice. So we had the game that came out earlier this year, and suddenly I'm blanking on its name now.
Unicorn Overlord. Yeah, I was going to say, like, it does that kind of, how well does that retain that sort of component of the game?
It does. It's a bit simpler in its implementation on that front. So I didn't have you don't have to fuck around with the equipment as much. And it also has the ability to infinite level, whereas Ogre Battle, there is a finite amount of experience in the game, unless you know the bugs. So there is a little bit of it's more forgiving and just like, I need to grind for levels on this character, let's go do it. The other one though is I can't remember the full name. I just know, and the World Eaters is its subtitle. But the Nippon Ichi software game, so Phantom Brave, Disgaea, I can't remember what the other ones are. The Prinny Presents Nice Classics, Soul Nomad, Phantom Brave, Disgaea, all those ones. They are about infinite customization and infinite grinding. So you can change the equipment on every character. They're grid-based turn-based strategy games where individual characters are on the grid. But they auto battle once they run into each other. No, you do actually give them the commands to fight. But you can change all their equipment. You can change their class. You can level up equipment, so you can actually grind dungeons to make equipment stronger in some of these games. These games are all about customizing your party to an uncomfortable degree. Phantom Brave, Soul Nomad in particular takes some of lessons from Ogre Battle in terms of the party layout, because it's a party-based game. So you build individual squad parties and then turn them loose. So it's got a little bit there, but it's not as refined as Unicorn Overlord. It's a little bit sloppy in a lot of ways. And all Disgaea games are a little bit sloppy in a lot of ways. But I think it's part of their deliberate. It's a deliberate decision to not be too polished. I don't know who else has got something.
I can only think of something like SimCity. Just you set up your city, and then eventually you kind of have to look at it to grow and evolve without your input, right? Like, how are things going? And hopefully nothing's on fire and traffic is fluid. I can't. I don't really go for games like that, I guess. Like, the only kind of similar-ish thing that I can think of is maybe something like Pikmin 3, but it's less okay. Like, you learn the systems and then like let it watch, like, once you've understood, and more like, well, you go and spin one plate and then go spin another plate and then another one, and then like you're always kind of managing that, like, okay, now my first group of Pikmin have finished mining this ore over there. Now I can go grab them and go do that puzzle over there. So it's a different vibe. It's more of kind of like an Overcooked kind of situation where once you learn a rhythm, you can keep going, like, really do well, but it's not really like learning a system.
Yeah, and I guess with Pikmin 3 in particular, the whole, especially on Wii U with the gamepad and all that kind of stuff, like, it gave it more of that feel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though in some ways, Pikmin 3 was more, even more kind of user-friendly and, like, immediate than the other two had been, I think with the pointer controls and stuff like that. But having, the ability to split up as much and then track everything with the gamepad, it gave it a little bit more of that kind of simulation feel, that all this stuff was playing out, while you were just trying to keep tabs on everything, like you said, SimCity almost kind of scenario. But you know, with all that Nintendo kind of approachable like layer kind of on top of it, which I guess, you know, has always been the kind of aim of Pikmin to a fair degree, but it just felt like they really kind of got there with the third one.
I would say Vampire Survivors is one that I would say is entirely different genre, obviously, but has very much the same sort of kind of reward system, I would say, where you unlock a bunch of things, try a different combination of builds. Probably you could say many roguelikes are like that too, but definitely it's really satisfying when you get a really good build going. And, well, first off, when you unlock enough things over time as you play, it's kind of hard to get started at the beginning because you don't have a lot of stuff unlocked. Your character really isn't powered up at all. So I think you spend a lot of time in that game at the very start. Like, what am I doing? My character's terrible. Like, I can't make any headway. But eventually you do turn the corner and you start unlocking a lot of things, and, you know, you start getting the combos going and stuff like that, and you kind of settle on different weapons and stuff like that, where you know that this combination, like, this works really well with this. Like, if I have, you know, if I get the garlic, it gives me the shield, so that means that I can walk through groups of enemies without getting hit, and then, you know, you can get the whip, or, you know, all kinds of other stuff like that, and it gets to the point where if you get the right build going, even like right near the end of a level, you can just sit there and the entire screen is just swamped with enemies, and you just sit there and you could walk away and go make a sandwich and nothing will touch your character. And it feels nice. So good because you can just walk around like a god and just kill everything, you know? So yeah, it's very much one where once you figure out what the really good stuff is and what good combos are, it's really, really rewarding.
Cool. Anybody else got some?
Electroplankton. I don't
really?
No. I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. But I was like, all right, sell me.
Some of them were, you know, some of those mini games, like if you could basically let it go, you know, like, okay, I just created a cool beat. No, I could just let that play. But most of the time, the game wanted you to keep tuning it, basically, right? But not all of them. I can't remember what it was called, but there was one where it's like these, I don't know, these round kind of things, and you create a path through them, and it made kind of a long enough sequence of sounds that like you could actually like have a pretty good beat going. Okay, Nothing of what I just said will make any sense whatsoever to anyone who's never seen Electroplankton, so just go look at it on YouTube, I guess.
Or play the stage in Smash Brothers.
Also.
Yeah, because the stage is the game, basically. I mean, it's a part of the game, not the full game. Cool. Anybody else? All right, Greg, would you read Marcus's email?
Okay, so yeah, Marcus writes, with 900 podcasts in the books, an opportunity to look back and reflect on your record. In the aptronymly numbered episode 404, The Reign of Firebrand, Carl Castaneda, while discussing Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, said he would much rather play as a hobbit doing stealth kills. 9 years later, he found great delight in The Lord of the Rings Gollum, I'm sure. Can you think of a time when an earnestly and publicly expressed gaming wish turned to ashes in your mouth? Please share.
The first thing that comes into mind is not really a gaming wish as much as like I feel like whatever I wished for when I was a teenager, I got like tenfold as an adult, and I don't want it anymore. You know, like they should make more Star Wars movies, and
they should not make more Star Wars movies.
No, the ratio good bad has gotten way veered into the bad. Anyway,
I'm trying to think of a great example.
I would imagine there's a decent chance for myself, and probably more than just me, over the years, you know, when you think of like the early days of like the Wii Shop and WiiWare and DSiWare, and then, you know, going into the kind of, the Wii U and 3DS eShops. There's got to have been expressions of like, oh, you know, wouldn't it be great if, you know, Nintendo liberalized some of their practices, and, you know, kind of we had more games.
Yeah.
You know, but we could have games that don't just have the same 3 different price points that they can choose from, and you know, all this.
And now we have games that cost 1 cent.
Now it's the laissez-faire approach arrived, and boy has it.
Let me tell you about the joy that is Hentai Waifu 2, now available on your Switch.
I was like that. Yeah, well, they're not. You know, there's no clunking fist. You know, keeping things off, or, you know, discerning anything, or eliminating any of our potential choices. It's just like that. Here it is. All the stuff that people would ever deign to put on here, it's here. Have at it. And there's definitely a bit of a monkey paw kind of vibe to how that's gone. Not that it's all bad, obviously. By extension, you know, it wasn't all the walled garden or whatever of the, you know, the WiiWare and DSi. It's like, there was plenty of downsides to that. That's why we would have made those expressions. But, there's downsides to the way it is now as well.
I reviewed some absolutely putrid DSiWare. Like, stuff where my takeaway was they need to be more restrictive.
Even though it was restrictive, it was still like, he's like, well, what was the thing where it's just like, oh, he's like DSi torch or whatever.
Flashlight.
Yeah, like, come on. I
mean, that one was amazing just because of so we were doing the DSi reads before Giant Bomb did. I want to be clear, we were on the cutting edge of that shit. They ripped us off, but the read of the flashlight one, just the incredulousness of it, of just like, you can even make it blink as a warning if you're in an accident. It's like, I could just turn the screen on and off too. What's your point? The notebook, that became a not just an RFN meme, that became an NWR meme. My notebook from 3 N's, 2 O's, where they would just come out with my notebook carbon, my notebook blue, and it was the same description every time, because it was the same game, because they had a limited number of virtual pages, and it was a very small number. That was their excuse. You could buy another one. My Farm and My Exotic Farm, same deal. How could we forget Enjoy Your Massage? Like, trust me, there was no shortage of absolute dog shit on those platforms. Yep. It's just now the dog shit is overwhelming. It is an ocean. We are lost in it.
There's no novelty in the dog shit anymore.
I mean, there is, but only in that it's somehow worse than the previous dog shit. Like, it's no longer, the novelty is no longer that it's dog shit. The novelty is that we've reached new heights of dog shit. It's like somebody's decided to release an adventure game that's only in Japanese on the Switch in North America about nori, which is seaweed you wrap around sushi. And they've done like 9 of them, and they won't stop. They refuse to stop. It's like, they just keep releasing this, or this Switch game here that didn't bother translating its name. It's Nurse Call, Love Nurse Call is the name if you translate it into English. Why? I don't know. But it's a game about dating nurses when you're in the hospital. I'll tell you, as somebody who was in the hospital not that long ago, my first thought was, damn, these nurses. No, it wasn't. It was, damn, I'm in a lot of fucking pain. That's what my thought was. Didn't cross my mind. Maybe when I was hopped up on painkillers, maybe I said something. I don't know. At that point, you can't blame me for anything. I'm on fucking opium. It's fine. Or opioids, not opium specifically. They didn't give me a fucking pellet and tell me to smoke like it's 1904. But, at that point, like, okay, whatever. But no, it's just fucking dog shit on there. And AI generated shit and ripoffs of whatever the latest trend of bad game is on Steam. It'll be like when we had the 9 fucking grocery store running games back to back to back to back to back. Shit like that. Where it's just like, this is out of control. It needs to stop.
Yeah, this was an easy one. I don't know why I forgot, but yeah, I often wish to have like a lot of hentai games on Nintendo consoles. And,
okay, well, congratulations.
Did that one really...
Well, but no, it didn't, because they're not actually hentai games. They just have hentai in the name.
I don't really know what hentai is. I just know I want it because the internet tells me that it's very cool. So
that's what makes it a monkey paw. That, you know, technically you're getting what you're asked for, but you're not.
But you're not getting porn. You're getting a game that's just named porn.
Don't be crass.
So weird. It's so weird. Yeah, I would never be crass on this show. It's just very funny where you have a game called Hentai whatever and it's rated T for teen. You're like, no, it's not then, is it? It's fucking stupid. I had one, Mega Man 11. So I like Mega Man a lot. I do not care for Mega Man 11. And a little bit of it is, you know, I played the demo at E3. It was good. We sat down to do the interview with the team, but the group in front of us went long and Capcom didn't make it up for us. So we only got like 9 minutes. It fucking sucked. I was mad. And, you know, the demo was good. I enjoyed it. But so many of the stages have gimmicks in them that I found it was really frustrating to play the game. Mm-hmm. Balloon Man is a particular, like, fuck this stage forever. I want to find the person who made this stage and just slap the shit out of them. Where it was like, oh, yeah, I get it. Like, you know, well, it's basically like, what if Mega Man kept evolving past the PlayStation era, which is the last 2D Mega Man game before we got the 2 8-bit.
Yeah, that's a weird part of it, isn't it, really? Because it's kind of more like, you know, an alternate Mega Man 9. Really, you know, because it's more, yeah, like you say, picking up where Mega Man 8 left off. Whereas Mega Man 9 is more like that we actually got. It's almost like, well, what if it was an alternate Mega Man 7? Because it was picking up where 6 left off. So yeah, it kind of muddies it a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I quite enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it was one of the better classic Mega Man games, but it wasn't. And then I didn't have loads of expectations on it either. You know, it was just like, oh, yeah, I've enjoyed classic Mega Man games. I played that one. It's probably a bit slower paced, I would say. Than
it is, except it's got a turbo mode.
True, yeah, I guess you can make it faster paced if you want to, but yeah, it just like, I you know, quite alright with the methodical kind of approach, I guess. You know, if you're somebody that likes Ghouls and Ghosts and stuff, you're alright with methodical games, I guess. So maybe that's part of it. I think maybe the fact that it's slower puts the other people off more than it puts me off. But you know, again, I really like Mega Man 9 especially, and 10's pretty good too. It's just kind of, you know, obviously didn't feel as much of a breath of fresh air, I guess, at that point, even though, you know, that obviously it was very modelled on Mega Man 2, you know, 9 in particular, I'd say, even more so than kind of picking up where 6 left off. It's very much like, 2 and 3, but that is really, really good. I still enjoyed playing through those on the what is it, Legacy Collection 2 or whatever would have that on.
Yeah, so 9 felt like a breath of fresh air because it's like, oh wow, they went and made a Mega Man 2. Then 10, it's like, oh, they made another one. Okay. Yeah. And then 11, like a decade later, it did, like, I knew you like it. Just never felt cohesive to me. Like, so if you go back and look at like Mega Man 8, Mega Man and Base, Mega Man 7, I think as well, they start to get into some real fuckery. And I will say, like, 11 also enjoys its fuckery, is probably the best way of describing it. It also takes a heaping helping of fuckery. So yeah, it's
7's also kind of slow, I feel like.
7, yes, it is.
Again, I mean, it's on Super Nintendo, and the sprite proportions have kind of changed, you know, because it's like, okay, we could do, you know, sort of bigger, more detailed, you know, more ostensibly impressive characters. on Super Nintendo, you've ended up with a more cramped kind of play area. So, I mean, some of it is it probably does play slower, because a lot of games did on Super Nintendo. It's kind of, it wasn't that apt for like high speed action, but it also, at least for me,
blast process.
Yeah, which obviously that was total horseshit, because what blast process it actually pertained to, like, wasn't that just like a still screen?
Yeah, pretty much.
It was literally just like, oh well, if we like use this kind of weird like edge case thing of the hardware where like if we're doing a still image we can do like way more colours or higher resolution, but it has to be a still image. So it was just, yeah, I mean, the way they actually suggested that is what made, you know, Sonic more like high speed thrills or whatever was entirely disingenuous. But with Mega Man 7, the thing about being more cramped is that it makes you like take it slower, because it's like, no, you know, if I'm running, you know, I get more stuff is just going to jump on me, you know, from off screen, more often. So you kind of take it a bit more or certainly I do. I play pretty much everything pretty conservatively. So that adds to the feel of like a slower pace. And, you know, like I said, again, not a deal breaker. To still enjoy Mega Man 7 to a fair degree, but I wouldn't say it's up there with my, you know, my favourites of the classic ones.
That's fair. A Mega Man and Bass, which we didn't get. It's just
we had the GBA version, which I can only imagine would have had the problem that I just talked about with Mega Man 7.
Oh, yeah.
And then some, because you would have been talking about, as was often the case with the several Super Nintendo to GBA games, the resolution is reduced. So, you know, a lot of the time that was not like dealt with by redrawing sprites or stuff, because then you know it's too much work. It's, you know, completely anathema to the whole thing of like, let's just take a Super Nintendo game, put it on GBA if you have to rework the whole thing. So then it's like, okay, well you're effectively zooming in more cramped to get, and the game isn't really designed around that. It was designed around the Super Nintendo graphics, which, I mean, like I said, again, if it's that much like Mega Man 7, it was probably a bit like, you know, zoomed in relative to like classic Mega Man already. And then we get the GBA version. So yeah, I can only imagine that isn't tremendous fun in itself.
No, it's not a good game to start with. It's hard. It's hard in the bad ways Mega Man games can be hard. But it's just that. It's just difficult. It's not Mega Man X6, yeah, where like we've made so many of these fucking things, we're just gonna make one for us in 10 weeks or 10 months, and it's fucking nightmare. But it's still way too hard, and it doesn't feel right, and yeah, it's a mess. But yeah, 11 is my Monkey Paw. Anybody else got a Monkey Paw? The eShop one is really good.
Well, I would say Virtual Console, but also just retro games in general. Started off with so much promise, and I was like, yes, Virtual Console, going to be amazing. All the games everywhere are going to come out on it. And then it just kind of died on the vine. And nothing since is really... I just, you know, I was so naive to think that these companies would want every retro game out there. But that's not the case. And it's kind of like a patchwork of, here's a bunch of, you know, games that you already have 3 times over. And here's a random game from Japan, which is a curiosity, but you will never play it.
Yes.
And I'm a little bit over retro consoles at this point. There's so many retro consoles where it's just like, okay, great. It's the fucking...
How's your Analog Pocket?
Well, I mean, that, but also too, it's just like, how many retro consoles can you actually own? How many do you, like, how many need to be out there? Like, do you, like all of the ones that are coming out from Analog, it's just like, okay, great. Like, you're releasing in fucking FM Towns Analog console. Cool. Great. Like,
I love that FM Towns is you're in my go-to for weird, obscure console.
It is. But I mean, they have like, it's just like, okay, there's like an N64, like, I don't know, there's so many now. There's just so many out there.
But they're at least a little bit different, and they're about, you can play the games you already own, versus like the retro consoles where it's just like, we stuffed 12 ROMs on a small thing that looks like.
But even with that, I mean, yes, there's these like retro consoles like the ones that are released by Nintendo or Atari or whatever. But then you also have the retro consoles that are like, hey, this is a Genesis, this is a Mega Drive, or this is
a tiny Game Gear.
Right. It's just so like it's just like, okay, yes, great. There's yet another retro console. Oh, okay. Like now the market is just so saturated with them. It's just like, all right.
So, like yeah, there's I feel like you know, like if you're not going to collect them, like maybe like you had a Genesis when you were a kid and now like, okay, I could own this thing and I can sure play it for, you know, a few weeks after Christmas and then, you know, I display it. It's kind of like an amiibo in that way, you know, like ultimately like, there's like a functionality to it. But ultimately, I think that most people buy those to then maybe just like
as
show off
the object. It'd be more important than the utility.
Any other?
I think there's probably a decent chance at some point. We've talked about it over the years in terms of I became, you know, at first it was kind of. You know, I didn't necessarily know what to make of the DS, you know, when they first showed the kind of, you know, the prototype, and it just seemed so rushed and all that, you know, it was completely different from, you know, a lot of the kind of hardware cycles that we'd been through which wasn't actually that many to that point, actually, in 2004 with Nintendo, but it felt like a long time, obviously, to someone who was still pretty young in those days. But, you know, I wasn't sure what to make of it at first, but then when it got here, it was like, there was a lot of things, you know, that I liked about it. Yet some of the kind of unique, gameplay experiences, you know, in terms of, you know, like touch control stuff, you know, might be like, you know, Kirby Canvas Curse and stuff like that. But also just like for more ordinary games where you had that second screen functionality and you just kind of shunt some of the menu, you know, the UI stuff on there, and you can have a map and all that, you know, it's good for the Castlevania games on there or similar games on there. So I think there's probably a decent chance maybe at some point while the DS, you know, was going on, then I would have been on the show, you know, from, you know, 08 basically onwards, that I might have said something about, oh, you know, it'd be kind of cool if you could do a similar thing with a console, and that was Wii U. So, I mean, there's got to be a certain amount of monkey paw going on, which again, is like, it's not entirely like there was a lot of cool stuff that did happen with the gamepad. I think we already talked about Pikmin 3, like the way that worked, and even as nice as it is to have the Pikmin 3 that we've got on Switch, it doesn't completely kind of compensate for or capture everything that was going on with the Wii U version. And, you know, there were like nice things about, you know, we talked about Xenoblade X obviously recently, and the way the map is in that, and how are they going to accommodate that with the Switch version and stuff. Like there was some of that promise that, you know, presumably I might have, you know, kind of, expressed a hope for, at some point in the future. But yeah, obviously what it also entailed was massive commercial failure, that they really, you know, is really quite unique. I mean, I know you got the Virtual Boy, but the Virtual Boy did feel much more like something that they almost, sort of an obligatory, like, yeah, we feel like we have to like launch, we've spent as much time in R&D and everything else with this thing that we're just going to dump it on the market, but we're almost kind of in the knowledge that it almost certainly is not going to do very much. The Wii U was their next console. It was the successor to Wii, one of the most successful things they'd ever done, or anybody had ever done. It was not like that. And so for it, you know, the gamepad in particular, to kind of seem like there's just a big millstone round its neck, I think has got to qualify for this criteria a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Like, because I remember seeing it at E3 and going, I don't know about this one, Chief, but all right, let's go for it. It's worked out pretty well for DS, and yeah, we saw some demos that never turned into games at that E3, like a Tom Clancy thing that seemed like, okay, no, actually, there's some really cool ideas here. that ultimately never really went anywhere interesting. I might also throw in Star Fox Zero, but just because I hate the controls of that game. I hate them. I hate them so much. And like, I wanted a game like Star Fox 64 that is not Star Fox 64, and Star Fox Zero is very close to being Star Fox 64, but it's not Star Fox 64 3D with local video chat.
Yeah, that'd be a decent one, wouldn't it? You know, it's just like, I want some sort of chat functionality in my, kind of multiplayer games when we get to 3DS, and it's like, that's it. That's how it comes true.
Local chat. That honestly about blew my brain up when it was said. I'm like, but wait, what? But I don't need local chat. They're right there. I can see them. But so you could see their face when you blew them up, which nobody ever reacted to it because it's Star Fox, whatever.
I mean, there's probably a broader conversation just about Nintendo Online stuff in general, in terms of like, in terms of how many years you might have been thinking about, like, oh, wouldn't it be great to play, XYZ, sort of a Nintendo game online one day, and then when it got here, in particular on Wii, where there were no patches, it's like, yeah, I like Mario Strikers on GameCube. Now I'm playing it on Wii, and some bastard's using the same fucking cheap shit on me again and again and again every time. It's just like, no, I hate it now.
Well, in that same vein, like, oh, I wish I didn't have to use this Wii Speak accessory. And then, they give us the phone app for the Switch.
It's like, Pokemon, like, Diamond and Pearl had, like, regular voice chat on DS. Like, we went backwards from that. Like, that Diamond and Pearl, if you played on, like the DS had a mic, obviously, or I presumably you could plug in something better. But, like, you could have voice chat while battling with friend codes on, and then, as we went on, it's like, no, they can't have that on Wii. You gotta have speakerphone chat.
God, it's, I reiterate my statement that Nintendo is just slowly trying to replace all the functions of a cell phone with less useful, more arcane tools. I don't think the music app quite qualifies, but they are replacing the music apps you already own with their own. So maybe as best as they could get. Like, I don't think they're going to send us those like stereo sound systems that would get installed in stores with big like 48-hour looping cassettes of music. I don't think we're going to get a Muzak system of Nintendo music, but god damn it, I'd be here for it. It'd be so good.
Better than certain stuff they play in grocery stores, I can tell you that.
Oh my god. I've heard some stuff in grocery stores where I'm like, what the fuck are you playing this for?
Yeah.
There was a Seal song playing. I'll let you guess which one it was.
What?
And I was like, what the
What, Kiss
fuck?
from a Rose?
The one that was on Batman Forever, yeah, what John said.
No, it wasn't. It was one that was a little bit more, that was even more sexual than that.
I'm surprised anything else, like, but wouldn't have been surprised over here. I think Seal was a pretty big deal when I was a kid over here.
He was bigger, yeah. I just remember going like, what the fuck? And then going, okay, yeah, sure, in a grocery store, fuck it, who cares?
Well, with the time of the year that it is, you'd probably be glad to hear anything that isn't a fucking Christmas song before long, so,
Oh, God, it's already started. It's already fucking started. I'm trying to think if there's any others that are on the list of, I feel like that's a pretty good list overall.
Again, I mean, like I said, that online thing is a gold mine of such thing.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it was a little bit close to basically like when we started, sort of as the core cast, with the three of us and Johnny. In 2008, like Smash Brothers Brawl was about to come out, but again, it's just like, get excited for online Smash Brothers, and then, what it actually was on,
oh my god. Theoretically online Smash Brothers.
I mean, there was still some fun to be had, especially, generally it felt like, if I could play with people that were in the UK, you could get like something of a workable game going, but yeah, I mean, there was just a lot horror shows going on with that.
Mario Maker 2's online is kind of in that same boat. Where
fair point.
Neil asked, will you be able to go online with your friends? And was basically told no, and people didn't believe us that he was told no.
No, they were so incredulous to the notion that Nintendo would say no, that even when they did very obviously say no, they were like, no, surely not. No, it couldn't be that. It couldn't actually be saying no.
Why are these idiots reporting that? And then it was like, no, actually, it's true. And there's a reason. The online's fucking terrible in that game.
Still, though, I mean, like, that's the thing, though, isn't it? I mean, it's just like, if you could play with friends, then, like, it would give you the opportunity to just, like, okay, no, well, I know this person, and they are, like, close to me, and they have got a good connection or something, so, like, this would actually be workable. I mean, it only makes the omission of it worse.
So here's the thing. This is my theory. I can't prove it, but this is my theory. Because everybody is a random, I think what happens is they realize there are so many disconnects where the AI takes over the other players that if you were doing it with friends, you could check notes against each other and catch them.
That's an interesting. Yeah.
It's like the No Man's Sky thing where they're like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess if you went to the same place, but the world's so big, you'll never actually do it. And then people just deliberately plotted to go to the same place.
But still, it doesn't make up for the fact that, that is something that, you would have, if it could have been done properly, it would have been very welcome. And
oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, playing Mario multiplayer online would be a lot of fun. I can't remember, does Wonder have online play?
Well, Wonder does it sort of a little differently, doesn't it? It's compared to, like, just doing...
It's async.
New Super Mario Brothers Wii-style multiplayer, but online. It kind of backs off from that and sort of said, well, maybe we can't do that quite properly because of the whole, like, jumping off people's heads things. I mean, that could be another one, to be honest, in terms of, cooperative... Super Mario Brothers side-scrolling, and then the reality of it is just, like, getting somebody jumping on your head and dumping you into a pit and bubble up.
I got exactly what I wanted.
It could be, again, it could be lots of fun under certain circumstances, but also I can imagine it feeling a bit like, I mean, if you don't want to go with the monkey paw example, if you want something that's a bit more culturally lowbrow, I would say Wishmaster. I feel like you get Wishmastered here. It's just like, look, I know technically you're kind of granting it, but mate, this is bullshit.
I'm going to give a preemptive monkey paw here. I've wanted a Crazy Taxi game for a long time. And we got that mobile game that looked like dog shit. Sega, when they announced they're going to be making all these new games and classic franchises, they announced just the other day a new Virtua Fighter. I want Sega, as they currently exist, to make a new Virtua Fighter like I want to grow an extra toe. I have absolutely no faith that they will execute that well. But I'm not that big of a Virtua Fighter fan. Crazy Taxi? Oh boy. I am mortified at what they're going to produce as the next Crazy Taxi. We had this with, what was that game that they made a sequel to and it turned out to be fucking gotcha shit? Wasn't it like a Chrono game? Not Chrono, a second Densetsu game that they announced at some point that was stuff like this? Like, occasionally we get this where it's like, we have a sequel. Yay! And it's a mobile game. No!
It's always like Konami and it's a patchy slot thing. Yeah.
Oh, God. We have the highest resolution fight with the boss ever created, and it's in a patchy slot. Go watch it. The video of the fight with the boss in the patchy slot is legitimately stunning. But at the same time, it's a fucking patchy slot game. It's like movie quality, and it's just like, why? Why did you do this, you absolute fucks?
I guess it actually makes money.
Because it's Konami, that's why. Yeah. There's a few of those where it was just like, I really want a sequel to this game. Here's your sequel to this game. I am deeply concerned about whatever the fuck it is that Sega puts out as their modern Crazy Taxi. 0% chance I trust them to execute this successfully.
You're gonna have the soul blazer of Crazy Taxi.
Ooh. I guess the Layton sequel we got on the 3DS with his daughter might constitute it. Like, it's like, I really wanted to make another Layton game. You didn't say what Layton. And then I went back and said, I really want them to make a Herschel Layton game with good puzzles. And then they announced the New World of Steam about 14 years ago, and we're still waiting.
Yeah.
Well, like they kind of ran out of puzzles at the puzzle mine, and so.
I mean, literally, the guy died.
Yeah, the puzzle master passed away.
So they have a new puzzle master for this game, which is a puzzle master boy band in Japan. I don't understand it. It's so weird. It's like a bunch of young men who are all reasonably attractive who do YouTube videos about puzzles. It's like, what the fuck? Sure, Japan, you just keep being weird. So yeah, I guess there's some monkey paws. I think we've covered it. Unless anybody has any others they want to do.
Yeah, let's wrap up.
All right. So we got an email about music. Greg, is that the song you want to go with? You got something else in mind?
I think so, yeah. I think it's a good choice. So Reg McFly did write in with saying, episode 900, you did it. I'm not sure how, but here we are. I was thinking about a music preference for 900 and ran the gamut of meme choices to specific RFN choices, but then I thought, what if you just played the best Nintendo song of all time, and that would fit. Given that it's also just dropped on the Nintendo Music channel, there's a timeliness to it as well. So I would like to...
Do LA themes on there?
So I would like to request the absolute banger that is Sticker Brush Symphony, even if it's been played before, which I don't believe it has, actually. Yeah, there you go. I think, people might have other ideas about what the absolute best Nintendo song of all time is, or
it ain't that, but yes,
yeah, that's a big call. It certainly is, but this is a very memorable song from DKC2's soundtrack. It's kind of essentially, I guess you could regard it as the sequel to Aquatic Ambience from the first game. In terms of, it's got a pretty similar feel. I would say it's a little more somber than that is. Like, they're both obviously quite chilled out, and that's what, Reg McFly kind of recommended it for. I thought a nice chilled out sort of feel for this occasion would be good. But, it like I said, it's just, I don't know, a little more kind of melancholy maybe than that first one, but very similar. And certainly, thinking back to those, the early days of us doing the podcast and the just before Smash Brothers came out, I always remember the radio trivia episode that TYP did with Windy, Stephen Rodriguez, as site director at the time, when I think Windy had the import of Brawl. That it was about a month early. It wasn't a huge gap, but it was still a gap back then. And they were doing the new rearrangements off the Brawl soundtrack, and it's like you have to guess what game that they're actually what series it was coming from. And one of them was the Brawl version of Sticker Brush Symphony, and I always remember that. And so I hadn't heard it yet. Like Sakurai had been putting little samples of stuff on the Smash Brothers Dojo website, and the music stuff was a lot of what I was looking forward to the most, from those updates, a lot of the time. But yeah, I hadn't heard that one, on there or anything. So it was just like, this is, I'd played DKC2 relatively recently on the virtual console at that point, so I recognised it pretty quickly, and it's different. The Smash Brothers version obviously is more upbeat because it kind of has to be, right? It's right for Smash Brothers, but yeah, straight away it was like, oh, of course they remix that because it's pretty damn good. A very nice choice by Reg McFly.
Well, before we wrap it up, again, I wanted 900 episodes. Thank the three of y'all for being here. Thank Johnny from before that. Thank the other crew that existed before us.
Obviously, you got to start with Mike and Evan at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Before Carl and Stan, and Johnny, and everyone else.
And also the audience for listening to this shit for 900 episodes. It's a lot to put up with. So I appreciate that y'all are still here for us, still writing us emails, still in the Discord or in the forums, telling us what you think of the episodes. And then like I said, thanks to these guys here for doing this with me every week. I know it's late, especially late for Greg this week because of the fucking time change.
Well, we're back. I did have a nice week where it's like, we might finish at 5 instead of 6, but I did back to 6. But back in your corner.
Well, thank you, James, for hosting for
a while now.
9 years,
450 episodes?
Yeah,
it's been a while.
It's over 450, I would have thought at this point, right? Because it was like it was like the summer of 15. So now that we're pretty solidly into the back end of 24, it's got to be more than 450.
Oh my god! Oh, that's depressing. All right,
which means you've got the majority now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And on that, a horrifying realization. Bye, everybody.
Later.
Bye-bye.
Shit, I said the wrong thing. Bye.
we're all gonna die.
John said goodbye twice with different voices.
He does that.